Good morning, good evening, and good night. Welcome to the Inforunners. I'm XU, joined today by Sexy Badgers, who's now officially the hairiest mofo on this show. It's no longer me.
Yes. Yes, I am. And he's not talking about my face.
Yeah.
See, we've been live for about 7 seconds, and already that comment would have had Algren going,
Yep, that's it. Yep, that's it. 100%. Yeah, that's how it should be. Yeah.
This is what happens when there's no adult supervision and someone hits stream.
Yes. Excuse me for the weird faces, but I'm having to adjust my camera. It's a little bit whack.
I'm getting more of an insight into a romantic life with you than I think I ever wanted to have, but you know.
I'm going to have to fix this after stream, I think. It's a little wonky all of a sudden. There we go.
Daily Noob. What's happening, Mental Gen? Daily Noob. Good evening, sir. How are we?
Oh, very out of whack.
Oh.
Do not adjust your set. There we go. All right. Okay.
But X, my immersion. I thought you were on the bridge of a spaceship.
That's it.
No, I'm
totally
you live like under a cupboard under the stairs with a pet owl and a weird scar on your forehead. You keep using.
That's a fireplace. What are you talking about? Anyway. No, it's a very old house. It's got a fireplace right there, all sealed up. But yeah. All right. So today there is no ISC. We were due to have Grim on as a guest, but because Algren wasn't going to be here, I thought it would be better to push Grim to next week. So Grim will join us next week with Algarad. Right.
Awesome.
Just need to get the bot going real quick. And then we're off.
Normally at this point I've been clever and I've pulled out YouTube chat, but I'm behind as well. This is although happily it has already told me that we are now live. Sometimes it waits until the stream is finished to do that. So well done, YouTube. You are getting there.
Oh, thank you, Nova, for the subscription for 6 months. Really? Have we been doing it this long? Wow, okay. Wow. Didn't realize we'd been doing it that long. But okay, cool. No Algred today. He's I don't think you'd mind to tell you if it was. He's at his niece's wedding. So that's what he's doing.
Oh wow.
Yeah, so his niece is getting married, so he's off doing that, which is very nice of him.
Yeah.
It was a good time. Right. We'll be taking your questions. I believe the bot is working. Let me double check. I did start it. Yes, it's working. So yeah, we'll be taking your questions and answering those today. We are going to have a quick look at, I don't know if we'll play it, because like generally I play videos and they get striked. So if we play your video and you strike our channel, I don't know how that'll go. But we're going to have a look at one of Badger's videos. He's done a nice little video that's going pretty well for him. And so we'll have a quick chat about that. What else are we going to talk about? Oh, there was 318.1's gone live, but I don't know if that's too exciting. But yeah, that's gone live as well. I did want to have a quick talk about the free fly. They're still doing the free fly with all the things going on at the moment, and I'm not sure how that would be good for the onboarding experience of new players. So I think we'll kind of start there. How do you kind of want to take that one?
I mean, so
yeah, that pretty much covers it, doesn't it?
Yeah. I did think about sitting down and making another video, but this is genuinely one of the times where I think what you keep saying, X, is you need someone to bounce ideas off with this. And I went through this kind of whole, I kept penduluming from one side to the other. But no matter how much I try, I can't end up in support of a free fly. I just can't get there.
Yeah, I'm going to be honest. I think the free flies should not be around. Like, I know they want to do them around Invictus and AIE.
Yeah.
And I think that's where they should keep them. But I don't think they should do big patches around those areas. So if you kind of work it out in like an analogy, so to speak, if the big patches came out in between Invictus, so basically every 3 months, you've got something. So big patch, AIE, big patch, Invictus, repeat. That's how I would do it, because then you've got these 2 periods of stability and then 2 periods of chaos. And that's how I'm wording it, but you get what I mean. And I think that would make it a lot better for new people, because they would be probably playing at the most stable times. And then they'd be going, why is this going in like so wonky and weird? And that's when they'd learn that you know, it's a game in development, a patch cycle, and then they'd learn, and then it would repeat again because then more new people come in board. So yeah, I don't know. That's
Yeah.
I don't know. Maybe
Yeah.
maybe we'll do a poll on that real quick and see what other people think.
Yeah, let's see what people come up with, because I have a feeling, you know, having a chat about it this early, this will be repeated in short form multiple times throughout the stream, because we'll get about an hour in and someone will go, what do you guys think of the free fly, who wasn't here right now?
So what's the question we're asking on the poll? I'm just kind of realizing, like, oh, so shit, it's gonna be yes or no.
Should free flies
should they be
wait for a period of stability?
Okay, I was gonna say, should they do a free fly for 18.1? But yeah, that's a better one.
You know, should we wait until the patch is far more stable before we go in? Oh, let's just throw a bunch of randoms in there. You know, because I think the problem is it's like everyone, right? No, this isn't a gatekeeping thing. No problem with new players whatsoever. You know, have at it. Please come and enjoy the game. It's great. It's, you know, when it's working, it's quite fun in here. Do come in. But right now, really, because I think that was my first thought was, we've literally just had months of stagnation up until now. Where we were expecting the patch, everyone sat there waiting for it, followed by people who are back to the game, still can't get into it. And I hope, and I'm sure chat will let us know, but I hope they have rectified that damn issue. But, you know, even if they have, to then immediately destabilize it with a free fly is just a slap in the face to everyone who's not been playing up till now, because they're like, well, I guess I'll just wait to the end of the free fly then.
It'd be nice if they kind of did like you know how they do their little articles or com links or, you know, updates, so to speak. It'd be nice if they had one that is like, these are the things that we recommend you try, because I think it'd be great just to be able to have an official source to send people to, because a lot of us have been playing for a long time. You know, the old things like delete your user folder, delete your temporary files, delete your shaders, all that type of thing. We know all those little tricks, and then, you know, and we come up with the other tricks like log out and log back in. There was all these weird login issues because people had figured out it had something to do with the back end, right? So when you run that all through, you know, we figure that stuff out because we've been here a while. But how do you pass that information along? How do you feed that down the chain? And I have to imagine a lot of the people having issues, like if you take hardware aside, it's a knowledge problem in my book, right? Because you and I, like I can tell you right now, daily noobs in chat, right? And I was in a game with him, and literally he found out a fix, because we kept getting stuck in the seats, right? You'd get in a ship and you were stuck, and he's like, you've got to press URI and then do it again and it'll let you out. It's like, who found out this combo? Like, someone sat there and just smashed keys until they realized if you do this certain combo of keys, it'll get you out of the chair. And I've like, this is like doing a secret passcode to just let you out of a seat. It was really, it took me back to my teens, like when, you know, A B B A for Mortal Kombat blood code. Like, that's what I felt like I was doing.
And you know, when people say, well, what does it take to get into Evo Kasi? That level of dedication to, rather than doing what most of it, which is done, which is Alt F4, fuck it, I'm going to go play something else. You know, I'm making meth. Oh God, I've just demonetized us again. Yay! One day we'll have a stream when I'm on where we actually make money from it as well. But the you know, and they sit there and literally go through, because of course UIOP is power, engines, shields, weapons.
Yeah.
So they're literally going through every possible thing. But to go back to the original point, yes, to have these really daft things. And then I thought, well, hang on. The flip side of that is they want to stress test. If they fix it with 318.1, what they don't want to do is fix it up to a point, and then when they stress test it later, break it again.
Yeah.
They want to make sure that they've done it now. And if they do it now, then maybe they can incorporate the fix into 318.2.
Yeah.
But that's not the point of a free fly. You are selling a free fly to all the new players as come play the game, not come break our game and then sit in queues and download this 80, 90 gigabyte game with no hope of getting in so we can do some back-end testing stuff. That's not what you're asking them to do. And you've got to, I think CIG have got to consider the lasting damage they'll do to themselves.
Yeah.
It's already in the gaming press that this patch is delayed. It's already in the gaming press that we're all up in arms because the patch doesn't work. And at the end of the day, they've just got to be honest with people. So, if they want people to come crash the servers, do it as a come break our game, because loads of people will do it just for that.
So on
They'll log in to break it. Sorry, go on.
Sorry, on Twitch, it's 100% of 7 people voted on Twitch and said yes. On 83% of people on YouTube with 23 votes said yes. So it's overwhelmingly you guys agree with this, which is interesting. I think they've already done a lot of damage with other patches too. Like I can think of at least 7 or 6. Like, you know, that thing where I carried on about the prison crime stat that they left there for 2.5 years and stuff like that. I reckon I've close to 7 people I know that have joined the game and just like, they still own it, but they're like, I'm not coming back till it's released. You know, so is that, you can look at that as damage, or you could look at it from, you know, another person's perspective. Good, I've got rid of them until the game's done. You know, like that's like how it depends how you take it. I don't know. For me, I think it puts it in a negative light that it doesn't need to be in. That's how I see it.
Agreed. And actually, I do think there needs to be a level of recognition from CIG. You've got a lot of people who backed the game, who put their money where their mouth is, who haven't had access, who have been waiting a long time for this patch.
Yep.
And to instantly, within 24 hours of releasing what is supposed to be the fix, to then open it up to a free fly, which we know degrades performance, which we know slows things down. You know, we've all had fun experiences, if that's the right word, of Invictus, of IAE, where, you know, you can't get in, the servers are crashing, whatever it is. They can't keep doing that. I don't think that's fair. Yes, so they need to test it. That's fine. And that's the worst face ever. I don't know if it's frozen on your screen, but no, there you go. That's better.
It did freeze on my screen, but it's fine. I'm used to the ugliness at this point. It's all good. Right.
Wow.
It's froze again.
I just get used to.
It's like on. It's
I
like
just
on
get used to the abuse.
All right. There we go. You're going again. All right. Rude. So we've got 2 questions so far. This is going to be a very short stream if that's the case. So remember, we answer questions until they're done usually. So if you guys don't ask questions, this will be a very short stream. I will say it's going to be a lower or shorter stream than usual because it's that 3rd week of ISC and a lot of people check out. It's just you'll notice it even in the YouTube trends. There's just not as many people watching videos because there's just not as much content coming out. And I'm already seeing it today. We've got less people than we would normally have already. And that's totally cool, but I'm just telling you why. So yeah. All right. I did notice someone asked in chat earlier, what ships do we reckon that are going to come for the free fly, and what ship do we reckon we're going to get for the referral? So referral ship, people are suggesting the Archimedes Merlin. I've heard that suggested a few times. What do you think would be a good referral ship? Because they're not going to go too far, are they? Like, what you're usually looking around the $35 mark. So I think that's about as far as they're going to go. I don't think they'd let you say refer a Mustang Gamma or something like that. Though that would be pretty cool, you know. Maybe if you get like 5 referrals, they give you a Mustang Gamma. That'd be kind of cool.
Maybe we get some Steves.
Possibly.
The STV.
But I think what he's trying, the person that said it, and I apologize for the person that asked it, but I just saw it and I took it to memory. I think he's implying the racing stuff that's coming in 318, so he's trying to get a bit of a tip of the hat to the.
No, that's a good shout. Yeah, hopefully something that synergies in. Although I don't think they've always been particularly clever with the synergies. Like when you've had new gameplay loops, you would hope that the ship of the month subscriber wise would be something that would allow people to take advantage of the new gameplay loop, and that's not always been the case. So
I think that kind of leads into the ships for the free fly. The only one that's on the post that they talked about yesterday that you linked to me on the 318.1, the only ship there was the Razor. And that was actually, I'm like, yeah, that'd be a really good one for a free fly. It's not a ship that they loan out too often to people. And I often wonder, should they kind of give some of those rarer, more bespoke ship? But I also think they're scared of some of them. Like, for example, if you put out the Reliant Tanner, do you think that would be a good experience for new people or a bad experience for you? You know what I mean? That's where I'm coming from. So, what do you lead with your best foot forward, or do you lead with a mixed bag, like a hybrid, or do you lead with like only, like some rarer stuff? And I think hybrids where they've been going, because then you got something for people that just have a starter ship, they get access to more ships and get to see a bit of variety. And then I think if you've got some cool staple ones there, that supports the new players as well. So
I think you've got two sides to that. You've got which loaner they give, and then which referral. And I think the referral, you can afford to be a little bit more adventurous. CIG can be a little bit more adventurous when they go out. And actually, if they wanted to be, just thinking about people being cynical about CIG's motives, you give out a vehicle, you're enticing people to get a ship that is then capable of moving that vehicle, right? If you want to be the cynical side. I think that's just part of the gameplay, and I think that's, for when you show people, okay, how's this different to other games? Allow me to jump in that, drive it in the back of that. Now, close that. Let's fly around and then use that to go drive places. And that's always kind of a very easy way to demo the game.
I got an off-the-cuff question for you that just kind of came into my head. Knowing what's coming, right, with the ships that are coming, and I find it really interesting that they've kind of had this flip where 12 months ago it was like, what are the ships coming? And like as soon as you found any leaks, you knew it was going to be a thing that was coming. Now it's almost flipped where we've got like 12 to 13, well, I don't know the exact number, I'd have to count, right? But we've got a bunch of ships coming. It's like, well, what are the 3 that we're getting at Invictus? And it's actually like that. I'm like, that's actually a really clever way to be. Like, if you've got a pool of ships just sitting there waiting to go, you can't tell from leaks anymore, because if they're all leaked, you can't tell what's coming.
And they're hinting at a lot of stuff.
Yeah.
So they're talking about, in the latest Squadron 42 report, they talk about they're putting the finishing touches on a very important to the campaign, to the story, vehicle, ground vehicle. Yeah. So what possible vehicle is there right now that's very important to the campaign that we will actually be driving? What is that vehicle?
How long's a piece of string?
Exactly that. And the reasonable expectation is something like that is going to come across to the PU. So that could be something, and that's how they reveal it, right?
All right. So knowing that, then my question, getting back to it, this is a very long-winded question. Sorry. What of the ones that you know of, what are you looking forward to most? There's a question for you.
Aside from the obvious.
Well, the Perseus is but okay. So of the ones that we know that are like literally rounding completion, right? There are literally like 12. There are literally like 12 things that are coming up to completion or have been completed in the last 6 months that are just sitting there waiting to roll out. Essentially, there's obviously gameplay things behind some of them, but you get what I'm trying to get at. So of the ones, not the Perseus, because the Perseus is not under construction, but you get what I mean, right? What are you looking forward to? Of the ones that you know that are about to fall out the door, so to speak.
Just to make the question slightly more long-winded, I've got to go with Oldman Zim in YouTube chat, who says Steve would be a good bet, but the Mule would be super clutch. And I think with physicalized cargo and everything else, the Mule is a damn good call.
That would be
very good call.
I would more likely do that for the referral when the whole sea drops, because that's going to be the big cargo refactor thing. So yeah, I'd kick. That's a can I'd kick down the road personally. But anyway,
Christ. I mean, there's a lot. There's like you say, we've literally gone from can we dream up some ships, like you say, to talk about, to oh god, which of the array that we have coming down the pike do you want to talk about?
Oh, well, how about I answer it first, and then you can answer it, right? I am really excited about the SRV. And because I think it's going to be one of those rare starter profession ships that scales really well. Like, I can just always see there being a need for that. Like, even to the point if they make a bigger one, with the way they describe the kind of bubbles working, like where they grab things, even if they made a bigger SRV and it had a bigger bubble, you can still take a small one and add its bubble to yours. So there's always like they just instantly scale because you can just make the bubble bigger, you know. And again, you can put 3 SRVs or 4 SRVs together and pull an entire Idris. I just love that gameplay because it actually means you got to work together. You can tow things, so it's kind of like the beginning of repair as well. So you can, you can take cargo containers, so you can do it. It does a little bit of everything, and I really like that.
Yeah, no, I can see that.
Not to mention the trolling perspective as well. Anyway, go.
Yeah. That's it. Just coming back to your outpost to find out that someone's just disappeared with your ship. God damn it!
They've just taken all the farming pods. Like,
yeah, absolutely. And that's an interesting question, right? Is how do they stop things like that happening? Maybe you've got to leave your ship powered on.
Well, there'll probably be criminal activity for doing it. So yeah. Anyway, all right.
Or
answer this question.
Maybe the shields need to be down in order to tow.
Right.
Which would make it interesting.
Well, they've talked about what was the words they used? Passive and aggressive tractor beaming. So you can actually they've talked about allowing people to be tractor beamed against their wheel, so that it will be a thing. Like they literally mentioned that in one of the ISCs. But anyway, answer your question. Answer the question.
Take that, Han Solo.
Yeah.
I think. Do you know what? I'm going to go out a bit left for field on this one because I know it's not their manufacturer's year, but I really like then again, it's not Argos really. The Legionnaire.
Yeah.
I think there's some lovely synergy with Soft Death, and being able to go up and connect and do all that sort of good stuff. I think that's a nice extension of all that, and it also would obviously herald the arrival of hacking gameplay, which we know was delayed from a little while ago. So, excuse me, but yeah,
we're both suffering from the cost. I'm gonna kick us over the browser real quick because I'm double checking something. But originally, the Legionnaire was due to finish around this time. But now it's I don't know the exact time. There you go. So it has finished, right? So I'm kind of at the point now where I think that it's the hacking gameplay holding that up. Much like you'd assume that the tractor beam tech is holding up the SRV and things like that. So a lot of these ships are being finished, but they're being held up by gameplay reasons. Which makes me think, why do they finish a Legionnaire? Why do they finish an SRV, but they don't finish a Banner Merchantman?
I suppose they can't really, because the hacking, I suppose, is external to the to the Legionnaire.
Waffle though, but if they don't have the gameplay for the Legionnaire and they don't have the gameplay for the SRV, and they're both sitting there waiting, why can't they make the Banner Merchantman and leave it there sitting there waiting? That's my point.
I suppose because you haven't finished making the Banner Merchantman, because if you need things like, it's not like they already. Well, I suppose they kind of have the shop mechanics, but that's from a preset. That's not from a stock it. Where do you want things? They don't have that functionality yet, so those internal spaces cannot be finished.
You could also use it just as a cargo ship. Like, so it does have some gameplay functionality. Like, you can't use the Legionnaire almost at all without the hacking, because it would just be, it comes up to the docking collar and does it automatically open? Or you can only get in if the door's open? That's a little different.
Yeah. But what I mean is, in terms of how that gameplay works, you can fully model the ship. Because that hacking is external, because you're actually communicating with another ship. So there's nothing in the ship that's waiting on that to work. The same with the SRV, in the same way of tractor beams. Do you see what I mean?
So you're literally talking about the metrics of the shop sizes, essentially. Then at the end of the day,
yeah, the programming of the. Oh, sorry. Hello.
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 We're here. Yes, we're here. We're here.
the internal space. It's like the programming of the internal spaces is like those shop spaces cannot be done until they figured out how all that's going to work.
All right, our rant is over. You want to go to the first question, or do you want me to read it?
Yeah, I can go through the questions if you like. Okay, so question number 1. Looking back up, we got a few more questions now, which is good. Nova, first of all, thank you for the sub, dude. You're gonna have to clarify this one. You said, are the Origin and RSI Galaxy comparable, roughly the same price? What do you mean by the Origin? Do you mean I'm not sure what you're.
I'm trying to think of a ship. So the Galaxy is around 380. So is he meaning 600?
Do you mean 600? 600.
400i is cheaper, and the 600i is more expensive. So quickly if you can. Yes, it's Origin 600i in Twitch chat. Yeah. So Origin 600i versus RSI Galaxy comparable, roughly the same price as hull plus modules, and roughly the same size as ship, ignoring the fact that they don't have the same type of modules at the moment. Are they comparable? I think realistically you compare any ships, but as in gameplay terms, no. One is touring and exploring. The other is highly modular, and it is tailored at 3 different professions that are not the 2 that are done to the Origin. They are essentially very different roles in my book. That's my short answer. What's your take, Badgers?
Yeah, I mean, if you do want to, you can compare them on the basis of what you've just talked about. For me, yes, you can compare them on that, although that's where the comparison stops. Yes, the ships with modules, but there's no real overlap.
Yeah.
And the other thing is the way that, unfortunately, the Galaxy wins out because it's got a shuttle bay.
Yep.
And that, for me, is massive.
Yeah. What you've essentially there, in short, just described is my overall problem with Origin. You pay a lot more, but you don't get the gameplay to go with it. So essentially what I'm realizing as time goes by is you're paying a lot to get really good components with your ship from the get-go with Origin. But what you lose in return is you just don't get the gameplay. And that's what, like, they really hyper generalize these ships. Like, that's kind of what touring is. It's just a fly around the verse thing and look at things. And then you do get, the Explorer module. But why would I take a really big 600i Explorer module when I can take an Aquila that has the same kind of crew requirements, but the ship is smaller, cheaper to run? You get where I'm going with this very quickly. It's you're paying more. It's like why would I? It's going to limit how far I can go out straight away because I've got to pay more to get out there. I've got to pay more to come back. Where I can go out in the Aquila, I can go further. I've also got the little snub, they've both got gland vehicles.
I have a feeling one of the things they'll implement is the prices that you can command depending on the ship that you're flying. So if you're going to do exact touring,
right,
Origin are going to be at the upper end of what you can, or are the upper end of what you can charge, right? And then coming below that somewhere is going to be the Crusader Spirit, or whatever it is, whichever one's got the touring module, and then below that will be the RSI Phoenix, and then all the way down to kind of your Genesis Starliner, which is the 747 of
So Waffle makes a good point too, right? If you clue into the fact that you brought, say, the Explorer or the Touring, and you brought the initial module, for that price, you're almost at a Carrack. Yeah, and the Carrack comes with a Pisces, a Rover, and it comes. So you actually, if you actually deduct the Rover off, because you don't get a Rover with the 600i, you have to buy one separately. Someone will correct me if I'm wrong, but from my understanding, it doesn't come with a Rover. So it can take one, but it doesn't come with one. So if you actually deduct the price of the Rover and deduct the price of the Pisces, Ironically, the Carrack is probably cheaper than, because one of them is 480. I don't remember which one, but it would, that's $50 for the Rover, and I think it's $60. That's $110 cheaper. So that brings it down to $490 versus $480. Yeah, I think that kind of like that sells me straight on it away. Yes, I have to buy those two things, but one, I'm going to use the Rover anyway, and the Pisces is bespoke kind of to that Carrack, so I want it anyway. Yeah, like when I put it up against that, I think you have to throw the Carrack in there too, Nova. So I think Waffle's right. I think that's a really good point, Waffle. Thank you for that. Yeah. Especially when you're talking Explorers, because a Carrack and a 600i land on the same pad. And if you've got to pick between a Carrack and a 600i, you would take the Carrack, because it'll go for everything I said before. It'll go further. It's got its own repair facilities. It's way better exploration. It's got the topography room. It's got those 4 modules on the bottom, so it makes it way more customizable. But I think you can understand why I get annoyed at Origin. I hope that kind of becomes clear that we've spilled that one through. And sorry if it's been such a long-winded response, but yeah.
Yeah, I like I say, I think the Origin series are going to come with their own benefits when we get down there. For the touring side of things, I think this is how they'll control things like the BMM and people saying, well, why would you ever want an 890 jump when you have the BMM? It's really easy. You can't do the high-end touring on a BMM. It just won't list it as an option.
Some random old man in chat says the 600i Explorer comes with a G12. Yeah. That's true. It does come with the G12. So yeah.
Yeah,
I have to have
absolutely
that as well.
Yeah. So I hold, although I have no evidence for this, I still have faith in CIG's statement when they say that everyone is going to have, or every ship there's going to be a choice to make, which means 600i in some way will have its own advantages. We just can't see them at the moment because they're going to be further down the line in the gameplay loops rather than the very rough kind of ship outline that we have now.
But this is where it falls apart for me, because why haven't they used that as a selling point when they sell these ships? Why are they going back and doing reworks to the 600i now? They're talking about doing it because obviously it didn't sell well, right? So if you fix it, it will sell again, right? So for example, they haven't done a rework of the Carrack. They haven't done a rework of the Aquila. Why are they doing and I'm just picking random ships here. You can take any ship and pick the same reason. Why are they specifically talking about reworks for the 600i? Now I know I can hear Agra in the back of my head saying because the layout, the layout absolutely sucks, right? But I'm just push that aside for a moment because I know that is true, right? But they they don't really talk much about the gameplay. They really delve down into it in the Carrack. They delve down it even into the Aquila, but they talk about the sensors and stuff like that. But I can't look at the 600i and go, I really like the 600i because I know it's got bigger sensors than X or whatever, or it's got this really bespoke thing. They sold it all on luxury, and that's where it all falls apart for me.
I tell you why, because the touring gameplay design document has an awful lot of blanks in it right now, I would guess. Yes. Because they're building on systems and they've changed the core features of those systems so many times. I think there's probably entire game design documents that are now so utterly obsolete that they literally just redact it. They just go through with a pen and just go, none of this applies. And there's a couple of spaces where they've got some nebulous ideas, but that will be added later on down the line when they get there. And that's why they can't give us the information now, because they themselves are not yet sure. They haven't fleshed that out yet. So because there's no point getting to that, because there's no point in going into real detail on that game design document if server meshing doesn't support it. Similarly, we know that Chris wants to build, because he said it ad infinitum, he wants to build the best game he can. If server meshing supports more than they were intending, Chris is going to want to use all of that additional bandwidth. And by bandwidth, I'm not talking about, you know, I know you know this, but for people in chat, I'm not talking about the bandwidth to your computer. I'm talking about what the game will be capable of. And he's going to want to pass that out and go, right, here's some more for exploring, here's some more for combat, here's some more for mining, here's some more for, you know, salvage. And he's going to want to detail them out as much as he can to take advantage of every ounce of performance they can get out of the engine. And that's why, and I think if there's ever going to be a claim of mismanagement, and I don't think it fits that title. So before anyone clips this, but if there's going to be claims, they could fill out a lot more, potentially in the game design documents. But I think Chris is kind of holding a lot back, and they're holding a lot back to see what it's capable of, and then they'll flesh it out when they know.
I also think they're holding back a lot of those design documents because then it locks them into things. They've learned that if they don't release the game documents, they can change things if they need to, obviously for gameplay reasons, which is fair enough because people have just learned, every time they see something now, they see it as a promise, which is not what it is. It's just like, hey, this is what we've been thinking. Some random old dude in chat says because they're working on modularity. So you reckon? Sorry, this silly old man thinks it's because they're working on modularity. But there's so many modules in the game, silly old man, that they could work on any ship. Why would they pick that one specifically?
Algrid, it's lovely to see you. You're at a wedding. Go get drunk, you utter psychopath. If we don't get clips of Algrid dancing on tables at this wedding going viral, and I'm not talking about viral in the Star Citizen community, I mean mainstream Australian news, then you know you failed and you've got to go around again. It's lovely to see you, mate, but go and have fun. Jesus Christ. Also, no adult supervision required here. But I think you're right, and I think that locking in thing is probably a big fear for them. If you're trying to make the best space game that's ever existed, you know, and 6 months, a year, 3 years down the line, someone suggests a module for the Caterpillar and everyone goes, that's a really good idea. Why would you want to lock yourself out of that?
I can get his point though. They could be finalizing all modularity across the entire board. That is another way to look at it, and I think that's probably how he is looking at it. So it kind of does make some kind of sense. But then the other part of me goes, why would they do all the ships right now? Because again, Squadron 42 is the priority. So that's where I come back to. I always try to look through a Squadron 42 lens at the moment. So for me, all right. I think we've talked about this also way too long. Like that's like 20 minutes on one question.
Just to confirm the chat, the UK is now out of copium. It's been that long. We have no more copium. I'm sad.
All right.
Okay. So next question. Thank you for that, Nova. Stop and Sniffer asks, any guesses on what the referral bonus might be? We've kind of covered that one with the Archimedes.
That's probably the person. Kind of said that. That's probably the person that asked the question. I did say I forgot their name. So sorry. Thank you, Stop.
Nova asks, what's that load icon ship? It is the Herald, the Drake Herald.
That's a little pixel Herald. And I can talk about this from a creation standpoint. Hayes really wanted the Herald to be a part of, like when I was redoing all the stuff years ago, he really wanted the Herald to be a part of the show, and that's the compromise I made. I basically, because the original Inforunners logo was the Herald and it had the words Inforunners around it, and I was like, that looks terrible. I need to redo that. And so I made this to a piece, Hayes. But it stayed. It's our little thing.
Oh, you've made it so I can't time out the other Inforunners from chat. Algrid, go and enjoy the wedding. Jesus Christ, man. Sorry, I blaspheme at him regularly. Okay, so Shempasta asks, what have you done with Algrid? He's at a wedding, but still commenting in chat. So yeah, he is here. He's just he's enjoying himself doing that social thing with family.
I reckon he's just like, I'm visualizing him is so drunk that he can't stay away. It's like, I'm so.
Well, when I keep saying he's at a wedding, he's not actually at a wedding. Because what time is it for you where you are?
6:45 in the morning. So he's probably in bed near the wedding or something like that, and the wedding's probably at like 9 a.m. or something like that. So
I was going to say this is the wedding's happening today. This isn't yesterday.
Yeah.
And Algrid's been an absolute beast and stayed up all night. You know, drinking till the sun comes up.
He just had an awesome bachelor party. No.
Waffle Insanity asks, how have you guys been enjoying your time away from the game over the last month or so?
Dark Tide. There we go. I can answer that in one word.
I regret to report that I have been doing my level best to continue fighting through with the game. And therefore do not feel like I've had a break whatsoever. It's been rough. It's been very rough. And that's from someone who's getting into the game. So I am very upset on behalf of the people who haven't even been able to get in.
I think we could talk a little bit here about, and this is a side discussion, slightly off topic. It's probably one of the ways I stop burnout. I don't play this full on, right? I'll come into it, and I've said this to you personally before as well, and Algrid. I prefer to play in the PTU, and then once it goes live, I'll come in for events with friends and stuff like that, but I won't play it every day. The PTU really hard, check out all the new stuff, you know, I feel like I'm doing a bit of testing there, looking at all the new things, and then I kind of roll off, go back to my regular scheduled type of stuff and keep myself informed on, you know, all the ships and stuff and all the things that we do here. But I don't really fully get into the game. And I think you'll agree with me, we've all seen people that hit this game at 99, you know, was it 88 miles per hour, and they literally they burn out in 2 weeks because there's just not enough to sustain people right now. And you've got to look at it from my point of view, being here the whole time, how the hell am I still here? That's why, because I'm not hitting it like it's a full game, right? I play other games, you know, and I think that's a big secret. Like, I really want to play this game, don't get me wrong, right? I love this game as much as everyone else, but you've got to temper your expectations. This is one of the reasons why we don't stream the game. Like, we're on Twitch right now, but you look around you, if you go back to the tab and look around on Twitch, everyone else is playing it. No, we're not doing that, right? Because there's just not enough game there. And Daily Noob is in Twitch chat, and he'll tell you how the fuck that he does it. I don't understand.
There's me and you going, well, occasionally I do a line on the weekend when I'm out with friends, and, you know, maybe I'll do a line, and there's fucking Daily Noob with a key in the back just going...
Yeah, that's it.
Just comes up and just white all around here. You're not supposed to eat it. It's like Jack Black in Tropic Thunder. Just... Oh dear.
Got me any more of those spaceships? Yeah. But yeah.
I just need something to bring me down. God, that was awful. But normally people can see my hand when I do that. That's what I was doing. It wasn't anything else.
Yeah, and people are reflecting what we're saying in chat. Like, and I think a lot of us are like that. Like, we come around, we try the stuff, and but we do. Like, I see people that just hit this game way too hard. I've seen entire orgs hit this this game really, really hard, right? And there are, and I'll tell you right now, there are orgs that have survived, and they, you know, they have like mining Mondays and different things like that, where they, you know, they do stuff together. And I'll tell you the secret of those, though, right? It's not the game, it's the people you're with, right? And it's like any game. As long as you got good friends, and you'll hear all of the contest creators say this, though, right? You've said it yourself. It's the people you meet. It's got nothing to do with this game. It's the people you meet. Take those people that you've made good friends with and put them in another game, and I guarantee you'll have just as much fun.
I just want the SpongeBob meme of facts. Yeah, and of course, Shadow Girl, you would choose that moment to walk in. Sorry, boss. But yeah, it's exactly that. And you know, people say, why aren't you in an org, Badgers? You know, why aren't you in a PMC org with your Perseus, or why aren't you in... Do you know what? I don't see the requirement for it now. You know, blipping in and out of it is great. And I played it because we had a long time without wipes, and I was playing it pretty solidly up until the wipe. to the point where I'd earned myself a pro. This was the wipe where we all got given crap tons of money if we were playing like far more than they intended. They tried to take it all back off us, but we'd all spent it on ships. But you know, up until that point, I'd just doing bunker missions. I got myself a Prowler, which is over 4 million credits. So that's a lot of bunkers. You know, and I'd gone around. I'd started collecting things. I'd gone and tried to find the advocacy badges and all that sort of stuff. And it was quite nice, actually, because although at the time I was left a little bit daily noob, like bunkers.
You have to stop that, or he's gonna get a like a what do you call it? A reputation.
Yeah, sorry, mate.
I just see this. You know, he's got a raccoon logo for his logo, so he's just this like powder coated raccoon all of a sudden. But yeah.
It's just it's not a raccoon. There's no white normally on that.
Yeah, it's just the streaks.
That's just the crap.
Yeah.
But yes, yeah, he I don't know what it is, but it's all black normally. I'm making that a routine for that clip on my stream. Oh god, no! Oh shit!
Shit, you're in trouble now.
But yeah, so you know, I've been in and out of it, and this is the thing is, you know, so X-backed right from the get-go. You're golden ticket, weren't you?
No, I'm not. So, I'm not golden ticket. Golden ticket is extremely rare. I think this.
But you were from the get-go.
I think there's less than 1,000 golden tickets, just to put that on perspective. I think it's literally in the hundreds. They're very rare.
Yeah. So I mean, I saw it in 2013 because it was the year. In fact, it must have been 2013. It was the year I joined Games Workshop because I remember basically
your first facial hair.
Your first facial hair? When I frog marching my staff over to the work tunnel and going, "We're not staff training today. I've got a video for you to watch," and it was their very first, you know, video that they did, and I forced them to watch it all. But I did what I advise other people to do, is I didn't back until 2017, 2018, because I went, this is great. All you've got is words on paper.
Yeah.
And then they did 2.0, we got Hanger, and then they did PU. So I came in at the point where there was Port Olisar, and there was some moons.
See, that view you take there, I would say that's a very standard view. I was the other way. I was like, they need money to get this done, and I want to see it happen, right? That I was
just went,
take my money, right? And it's
just
not
throw
like
your card at the screen.
It's not like take like everything I've spent now. It's like I've slowly put into the game over time as I saw it. You know, okay, cool, keep it up. I'll keep giving you more money. That's how I, you know, and I'm sure a lot of people like that. But that initial investment was $60 US, which was on Kickstarter. It was called the Bounty Hunter package, which is ironically a 300i, which is not a bounty hunter ship, but that's what it was called. And then shortly after Kickstarter ended and they moved us all over to the RSI website, I upgraded that to a Constellation. And then off I went, right? And every person you'll talk to has the same type of, you know, they entry ship, an upgrade, you know, especially from back then.
Yeah.
But the point I'm trying to get at is I really felt this was a project I wanted to see succeed. Like, because it almost said in the video, and you've seen that video we were just talking about before, it almost felt like they were saying, they slapped us in the face, I want to slap them back. And when I saw that, I was just like, yeah, fuck yeah, I'm going to help you slap. And that's going to be the biggest fucking hand I've ever had. Right? And then it like beats the biggest kickstarted or crowdfunded thing of all time. And that just felt like an awesome backhand, you know, and they talk about now, because we're over half a million or half a billion, I should say. That's still chump change, you know. I don't know if I've said this on stream, but one of the things that came out, and I can't remember who it was that told me this, but I remembered the numbers. PUBG makes $10 million a day, and it worked out to be like 2.6. No, was it 2.6 or 26 billion or something stupid last year? Which is just ridiculous.
Yeah, I think I've seen the whole Fortnite thing is just absolute carnage, the amount of money that they make through their microtransactions and stuff.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I kind of saw it and went, this is absolutely the game that I remember sat in the car back in 2003, driving back from a big LAN party in the UK, and a mate of mine and I got talking, and it ended up being a 3-hour conversation of if you could play any multiplayer game ever, like just define a concept. And we basically, we actually talked about it in the context of Warhammer 40,000 and doing it in their space game, mods please, CIG. But we talked about, being in space, and if you're going to hack through a door, don't just run up and hold F, then
I'm bringing this up for a reason.
I see what you're doing.
Yeah.
But it's this was that game is the long and short of it. And I actually was able to say this to Chris, is that I feel so connected to the game because in a vacuum 10 years before, having played his games like freelancer and seeing what he was trying to achieve, this is the game that I wanted to play, and that's why I'm here, and that's why I read about it, because it's, I do what I normally do, which is a payback or a throwback to my military days, which is a lot of the times you're given parts of roles and you're only partially trained for it, and you've got to go and read up about it yourself. You've got to go and research it. You've got to go and get into all the books, figure out how things work, all that sort of stuff. So when I focus on something, that's what I do. I get into read about it, and I've spent hours and hours and hours going through comlinks, just following rabbit holes and going, okay, what else can I find about this, and sticking it into the search engine, and so that's the whole thing. But going back to the original question, and everyone in chat has been saying that as well, it's the people you play with. We were saying this literally just before coming on stream. If I ever decide that my channel is not, I'm not enjoying it anymore, or it's impacting my enjoyment of the game, I'll bin my channel. But I won't bin this, because I enjoy coming on and talking with you guys and talking with the community, who, as far as I'm concerned, you are my peeps, right? You this is just the group of people I game with. I've played with some of you. I haven't played with, a lot of you yet, but that's going to change. When the Perseus gets launched, you guys stop it. I know where you're going with that.
I've just got this image of me hanging with my homies, and it's just like all these monitors with faces on them. Me and my homies. Anyway.
But I thought you were going to go with the playing with people bit. But well done you for that's character development. There's an arc. God, when the Perseus gets released, you are all invited. We are going to go and get as many Perseus as we can, and let's go crash servers and blow shit up.
For sure.
But yeah.
So I'm going to show you the thing that I was trying to find now. So this is my approach to Citizen. That I've literally got that poster on my wall. It's from the X-Files. People will know it if they're old enough, but that is still my approach to this game. I really wanted to believe that someone was trying to make it, because I used to be in game development, and I wanted to make a game like that. And I even said this a few times too. If CIG had a studio in Australia, I'm pretty sure I'd work for CIG, but they don't.
Yep.
And it's really hard to actually get transferred from one side of the world to the other. There's just too much paperwork. So they don't tend to do it. But then I'd also have to, possibly live near badges, or, that could be bad. Yeah. Okay, let's just undo what I'm saying there.
When I said you're all my peeps, I meant all apart from Waffle Insanity, who continues to insist that the Liberator is a carrier. Do you know what? I'm going to get one 3D printed so I can...
Actually, no, get one 3D printed. 3D printed. I said it again. 3D printed, but it's it's got like a crack in it, like the hammerhead, so you can redo the Perseus and 3D printed Perseus, and you can just have the Perseus fly through and break it into pieces. Do you remember those old Star Wars toys of certain people will remember this. They had the God, I'm gonna butcher this, but you remember the one on Endor, the bikes. Scene, there was a toy, and it had this little satchel thing on the back, and you'd press the satchel and the whole bike would explode and throw the stormtrooper off. Like,
wow.
like that. If you could have that, but for a Liberator, so you beep, that'd be really cool.
I'd quite happily rig one with some C4 and just fucking sod it. I'll put it on the floor and jump up and down on it.
Don't be too harsh. Tell us how you really feel, right?
I've got a really, really big hammer in the shed. Just
Hey, Maiko.
Okay,
welcome to our pre-recorded program, Maiko. Welcome.
Yes. Yeah. We don't do live.
Yep.
Okay, so here's an interesting one. I can't say your name. Aki Shake, Ache Shake.
Egg shake.
That Ache Shake. I do apologize. Where do you see the Gatak Raiden price wise? And do you think it will also bump in size / price?
Well, it's
quite certainly.
Currently, what is it? 220. Concept. So
Standby caller.
Alien tax. The MSR went from 225 to 260. So that's a $35 price hike. So
yeah, so it's
only ever a best guess.
225 and then 200 war bond.
It's 225, 300 war bond. Okay, 225. That literally puts it almost perfect alignment for the MSR then. So 260. Just going on by what the MSR did, that's the same. So that's an established precedence and follow the precedence. So yeah.
Yes. Yeah. Size wise, who knows? Some of them are getting bigger. I wouldn't be surprised to see a lot of the old stuff getting bigger, just because they're going to now have to fit all the components in, and I don't think they really understood the size of the components before they did that. So yeah.
Yeah.
Okie dokie.
Next one.
Yeah. So, Devil Dog 9811. Question: I hear often that the Cutlass Steel is just a horrible ship. X, would you like to field that one?
You hear correctly. Long story short, if you look at it on paper, it's got lots of really good components, and that's what you're paying for, right? But by the same token, you can also get 2 Cutlass Blacks, and it comes down to how much do you value components that you can earn in game versus an actual ship and the functionality of it. Now, yes, it can be argued that the extra components do increase its functionality, but at the end of the day, it's a video game. So my thought, it's a value proposition, essentially, at the end of the day, and that's why it's a bad ship. The ship itself could be the best ship since sliced bread, right? But it's bad value. And we're not the only ones that will say that. I think it's one of the most extreme examples where I've seen multiple content creators are on the same page. So yeah.
The Cutlass Fool's Gold. It feels like a ship that was created in a vacuum, or a variant that was created in a vacuum, with no what's the word I'm looking for? Respect.
Yeah.
Completely with no respect to the other landing ships.
Do you know what I compare it to? It's like someone makes this really cool sci-fi epic, and then this company buys that movie, right? Comes along, makes a new series, or I don't know, a trilogies of movies with like someone in it, and they kind of just butcher it and make it shit, and don't even follow the convention of the other ship names, and completely break the convention of those names, just like a said movie did. Yeah, it's a bit like that. Yeah, don't open that can of worms.
That was an oddly specific example, mate.
Yeah, I don't know. I was trying to be vague. I don't know if and then this week, they just announced like 9 new movies out of nowhere. Yeah, get lost. I just don't believe it at all. Anyway, sounds like they're setting it up to sell it. I'll just leave it at that. and move on.
Okay, so Shinobi Chip asked in response to my question earlier, I tried to play last night and was stopped by an infinite load screen after the main menu 3 times. Yeah, it's
So that's
not good.
normally you go into your local files. So in your users, so C drive uses your username, local Star Citizen, and then follow that right through until you get to this folder that's got all the patch. Actually, I could probably show you on my computer. Why not? I'd have to take a screen. I don't know if I can. I'll take a screenshot and then I'll show you because it'll just be quicker than
hide the porn.
No, it's not hiding the porn. I don't have it set up to show my screen.
Yeah. So just while X is doing that, just a quick poll of both chats. For those people who weren't able to get in 318, if you're now able to put get in, just a quick Y for yes. And if you're still not able to get in, an N for no, just to give us kind of an idea of where we are right now and you know, what sort of success people have had. But, you know, has 318.1 fixed it for those that can't get in as a general rule?
All right, I'm gonna ad hoc this real quick because I don't have
so
to do it.
Axis says yes, Mount Stunner says yes, Randy Alom says yes. That's encouraging. That's 3 yeses. Miko in YouTube chat says yes. Mark Jensen, yes. Zeb Pilot 21, yes. So they fixed something. Shinobi Trip, no. Oh, dude, it's just rubbish. Man on Crutches, yes. Chad Salisbury, yes. Drugatellan, yes. Respawns, F. Thanks, mate.
Right.
Yeah.
So if I make this bigger so you can actually read it, right? There we go. Right. So you can see here it says this PC C drive user Anarch. That's my username. So that would be whatever your username. Who is the person that was asking this question? Shinobi Trip. Shinobi Trip. That would be your username. App data, local, and Star Citizen. Now, me and Piggles found this. Remember that time you couldn't get in for months and months and months? And me and Piggles found this and we told you about it. And it apparently allowed you to get in, if I remember this correctly. But this is what I was talking about. And you literally just go in and you delete all those folders and the game. Oh, shit. I moved the wrong thing. Thought that was the window, but it wasn't. Right. So, yeah, you literally delete those and run the game. And it's like it deletes all the shaders essentially because they've moved. If you go try to find the shader folder, it doesn't exist anymore. It's gone.
Gotcha.
And so this seems to be the new location of it. And as you can see, there's multiple versions. And I remember when I came in here and we found it the first time, there was literally like 315, 316, 317, things like that. So there was just so many different files. And when we deleted them, it just fixed so many problems for us. But we're now not the only one that's found it. Yeah, I have a different username on my PC to execute. So that's why that's like that. Anyway, Ace Hambone, thank you for the super chat. Hello, Chens, and thanks for the stream. No, thanks, man. Always.
Appreciate that, Ace. That's, yeah.
Anyway.
Very nice.
I think that kind of wraps that up. Excuse me.
Very generous of you, my friend. Thank you very much. So I mean, the bottom line coming from that what was being said in both comments is for a lot of people, it seems to have fixed it. Hopefully, Shinobi, that fixes it for yourself. Failing that, you know, people are always welcome to come into Discord. There's lots of people who are very, very knowledgeable about all this stuff who can try and help you get in.
The other person that does a lot of live stuff is Angry PC Tech. He literally will sit there, people on stream, you know, and crowdsourcing to fix the problem. So he does that as well. But and that's how I ran into him the first time. Not that I was looking for help. I just discovered that he was helping people, and I thought that was really interesting how he did that. So yeah.
So Northern Trooper asks,
hear what
Algrid
said. It's a Disney cutlass. Oh, I want to make that stick. That's so good. Yeah, I like that.
Just remember that you don't need to sail with Disney to fly with Mickey Mouse. Okay, so North End Trooper asks, does CIG publish the holiday schedule that helps notify us when they're out of action or out of office, and when we can or should not expect any communication from them? No, it seems to be inside Star Citizen. that we get that information because it's all based around their patches. So if the patch is delayed, their time.
They do tell us when they come back from the Christmas holiday period, like they'll go, oh, we'll be back on the 8th of January or something like that. But it takes so long to get going that you might as well just add to March, because that's how long, like if you go look at the content every year, it's like a really drunk person trying to get back on their feet at the start of every year. It just takes so long to get going.
I think they did really well this time around. I think it was real. I can remember us all saying this is great, and then they didn't keep it up. But no. So apart from the Christmas one, which is obviously because it's a fixed point in time, no, we don't find out. I know we've said this at length, so I'm just going to say this and then move on. But it is a bit of a shame that they don't record content in advance, even if it's just an ISC every week for those 3 weeks that they're away. But there you go.
Yep, no, I agree.
So Shempasta asks, when Pyro comes out, will there be controversy for the fact that a light fighter will need support in Pyro, or that lots of solo ships won't be able to make it across Pyro?
So I'm just going to cut you off because Agrid asked me to do a poll. He wants to know, can you get into 3.18.1 or not? So that's both live on Twitch and YouTube right now. Sorry, back to your question.
Yeah, I think he might have paused the live for a little bit because he seems to be coming in a little bit after when we're talking. So, Agrid, you might need to catch up, my friend.
Do you think the price?
Yeah. So my understanding of Pyro is that there are temporarily going to be stations that will deal with that because it's not in their interest to not allow everyone in, stress test it, do all that sort of good stuff. And then later on, they're going to start removing that and make us go that way, in the same way that I can remember when everything could go everywhere quantum-wise, pretty much.
Do you remember way back when they first made Pyro, and I'd like to know if this is still the case, they said they were putting in extra stations so little light fighters are able to cross it. Do you remember that? I mean. Yeah,
exactly that. Yeah.
So I wonder,
that's what I'm referencing. So I think it is. That going to be? I think it's still going to be the thing.
So what I'm asking though is, do you think that'll be a permanent fixture, or is it a temporary stopgap?
Temporary. I think it's like everything. It's, being able to. There's nothing. They gain nothing by not giving everyone access to all of Pyro.
Yeah.
Because otherwise, what they get is inaccurate. Kind of data back. So,
okay, Algrid, to answer your poll, 91% of people on YouTube say yes, and 100% say yes on Twitch. I hope that answers your question. And the question was, can you get into 3.18.1? All right, next question. Monster Avery asks, do you think there will be a price the whole C over the C2? IRC, they had said pricing was components plus seats, something to do with you might have to adjust for the massive SE capacity. I'm trying to remember my pricing on the Herc, and my pricing on, it's been a hot minute since I looked up the Herc pricing. I'm gonna have to do that now. Hold on.
It's 400, isn't it? Or is that one of the
It's not the number I have in my head, but I just want to double check because it's been a hot minute. I tend to forget a little bit about prices once ships come out sometimes. All right, so the Herc is 400, and the whole C is currently 350. All right, so the Reclaimer went from 350 to 400. So I would say, oh, geez, man, I cannot. I don't know, you tell me in your head. Can you put a Hercules on par with a C2, a whole C? I can't.
No, I think there's other things that the C2 brings to the party that means they might be priced equal.
So you're saying it's quality over quantity?
Well, it's cargo inside versus cargo outside.
True. Yeah, that's what I mean.
Yeah, kind of, but it's also the, I can ship vehicles in a C2. I can move my peeps around in a C2. The C2 may or may not have more of a chance surviving in combat.
There's an astronomical difference in the amount of cargo, though. Like literally
There is.
astronomically different. Like in the,
Yes.
I think it's literally. Don't quote me on this, but I think it's in the neighborhood of 10 times as much.
And
I'm sure someone will post it in chat. Can someone give me the, because it's like it's almost around 400 or something for the Hercules. It's like 376, 396 or something like that.
It's 696 for the C2.
Yeah, okay, and that's one of the bigger ones because I know it goes down for the M2, right? But so now, if someone would also post the cargo amount for the Hull C, because like
4,608.
There you go. So, it does lock you into only cargo. So I think you're right. You get a bit of variety in the C2, but
yeah, because the other thing, of course, the Hercules is going to be able to do that the Hull C isn't, is it's going to be able to go planet side. So I think it's sources for courses.
Hull C can go planet side. It just can't go with cargo.
Yeah, precisely.
And the original, was it the B or the C? One of them can just not put cargo on the bottom spindle and it can land.
I think it's the B.
It might be the B. I might have. It's been a while.
Yeah. So so I think you're talking Hull C is likely to be a hauler in more secure space, whereas you know, the Hercules is a different beast. So I'm not sure they're a straight up comparison in terms of pricing.
Like when we were comparing the Galaxy to the 600i,
yeah.
You know, that they are a little bit different. We are both essentially talking about two cargo ships. I think these are a lot more comparable, but I think that at the end of the day, you're looking at a versatile cargo ship versus a pure cargo ship, right? And let's be honest, they really drove home the point of this thing being able to take large ground vehicles to planet. That was what that ship was sold on.
Yeah.
And I think you brought it based on that. That's what you brought, right? If you buy a Hull C, you're buying it because your bread and butter is the sheer amount of cargo you can carry. That's what it's for. And so every ship has its bespoke uniqueness, and that's this one. It's just it's no holds bar cargo ship. I'm gonna be honest. You could probably still put a large vehicle on it, but it's probably gonna have to be in like a massive cargo container or something like that, you know, and you can't just rip it out whenever you want, but you'll be able to take it from A to B. And I think a lot of people forget that fact, that they've talked about being able to put, you know, Auroras in cargo containers and stuff like that. And, you know, talking about the Liberator before, a carrier is going to be like a Hull C, E, or D. They will just box them up and deliver them. You know, they won't bother chucking them on a Kraken or chucking them on a Liberator. They'll just chuck them in boxes. And it's far safer because as soon as you, like, think about a gift or a package that you get delivered by Amazon. You don't know if it's a really expensive item or a really cheap item. You just don't know. And that anonymity protects the package.
Yeah.
All right. Next question. I'll let you take this one.
Okie dokie. Vagabond Prime asks, do you think things will bounce back after the 318 branch stabilizes? It feels like a lot of folks, not just me, are burned out and frustrated, more than usual, at least.
I think I was gonna say, I think people are burned out and frustrated because it's buggy and annoying. But for those of us that have been here for a longer, this is not new, right? So for a lot of people, it's their first real big kick to the teeth, so to speak. And progress is happening. That's a really good point that Lemming points out in chat. And that's how I always look at this game, as long as it's making progress. And if you want these really cool features, you have to take those steps back, get all those new bugs to be able to go forward again, right? To get to that ultimate game that we want. And I strongly believe that a lot of these complaints are coming from new people. I think a lot of the people that have been here for longer, you were like, yeah, cool, we're at that point again. Cool, it'll be fine. You know, and even as we progress, though, if you go back to, God, I'm trying to think. Like, I remember when they first brought in the Vulkan improvements, and we got like a double of frame rate, or you know, the DirectX 12 stuff when they came in. And that was like what, 2 years ago now, right? And the game went from like 30 frames for most people to 60 frames, and people were like, what the hell is this? This is amazing, right? But you got to be honest to yourself. If you look back in even in the short period that you've been here, and I know you probably can't do it if you've been someone that's only been here for 6 months, right? Because that's how long that 318's been around. But if you can go, anyone that can go beyond that, you would have to go, yes, every patch that comes out, there's an improvement, right? And I think when 318 does stabilize, and I can already tell it myself already, it's running smoother than 317 did, you know, and when it runs well, it runs really well. It's just that they've got to get it stable. So yeah. All right. Sorry, I'm
you know, I think whoever's hacked off about it is, you know, is perfectly justified in being hacked off about it. I think it's likely that now there might be a little bit of a lull until we get Pyro, until 4, that people go, do you know what? We've had salvage in. People might play it just, you know, if they haven't managed to try salvage yet, they'll play it to try salvage. And then it's like, okay, well, what are the big things now coming between now and 4? And the answer is we don't know, because we don't see enough of the roadmap. We know that 319 is now actually coming as a branch of 318. So for those that haven't seen that, 319 features won't actually be in a 319 patch, although it will be called that.
I think it's called
It's on a branch of 318.
Yeah, but so now it's just gone to 320. But I still think, based on the things they're talking about, right, you can always look at things they drop on ISC and you can get a rough idea of where things are going. So Invictus, right? We can look at Invictus. You can tell what's going to happen there. The free flights, the sales, cool.
Yeah.
That always brings hope. The next part after that, so going between those 6 months between Invictus to AIE, in my personal opinion, is the time of year that drags the most. It seems to take the longest. I don't know why. It just does for me, right? That 6 month period, what are we going to get? We're going to get the 320 patch that is going to have tractor beam stuff in it. You know, down the line later in the year, we know the whole C and a cargo factor's coming. So you've got tractor beams and cargo. So you can see that's 2 very big things that are coming. We also know that they were intending to get munching done by the end of the year on the roadmap. You can also see with the tractor beams, they're already looking at being able to, like last week, the last IC they did was pulling off the components. So it really does, hopefully, or potentially by the end of the year, not mentioning any of the server streaming stuff that might come or may not, that we might have a fully working salvage in all 3 parts of it: the component stripping, the munching, and the stripping that we've just got, which to me is quite cool. That's the first real full loop. Is that how you put? I think that's how I call it. It's the first full loop.
Yeah, I mean, maybe we get munching. I just think, you know, now if you were to talk about, okay, so what's the big thing that's going to draw people in before 4? I don't see it, and it might just be that it's not necessarily something that is appealing to me.
Might be like last year, and it'll be a whole heap of little things. Because let's be honest, there was a lot of performance gains last year. But last year, you go back and look at it, there was nothing really big because we were all waiting for the persistent entity streaming. And this year's kind of the same with server meshing, that huge wait. And it won't be one thing that really stands out. It'll be the sum of its parts, like it was last year.
Well, that's it. But again, you know, for a lot of people, it might be, well, okay, I'm going to wait till 4. You know, I'm going to wait till Pyro, unless something comes to draw people back in. So I think there's definitely, as you've said, Vagabond, I think there's definitely the potential for people to taper off now a little until 4, and then 4 will see a reboot, if you like, because everyone will come back in and do exactly what they did with PES, which is all jump in at once, break it for a couple of months, and they get pissed off. But yeah, you know, and they'll come back in for 4. There's a lot of
Mm.
Yeah, we'll leave it at that.
Lemming does bring up a big point to the time. May to November has CitizenCon, which is exciting, but CitizenCon results in a content drought. Yeah, 100% agree. I think that's the worst part about CitizenCon, to be honest. Though they just hold off on talking about so much stuff when they take 5 months off a year already for ISC. Yet they're also holding. It just shows that they don't have enough to talk about. Or they don't know what to talk about. That might be the other way to look at it too, if you want to look at it from a negative lens. So yeah. All right, you want to do the next question?
So Monster AV asks, do you think the seat issue could be them trying to implement ejection seats, or just a very strange coincidence? I would love to see reason behind it. I think they just broke it.
Do you think the seat issue could be them trying to implement it? Oh, so he's talking about. I think he's talking about when I was saying I couldn't get out of seats. No, I just think it's another random bug that's come back when Pez went online, because it was an issue we've had in the past, and you'll hear that again from a lot of the older backers. It's like, oh well, we had this bug 2 years ago. You know, like it's like all the old bugs become new again every time they break something. It breaks all these other things. That's just how it happens. So yeah, they've got them all noted and that, so they go, oh, seats don't work. Okay, how do I fix? Oh, okay, that's the fix for that, and then they go fix it. So, yeah.
He also asks in YouTube, with some of the additional focus on ground vehicles and ground locations and missions, do you think they might give the Prowler the hover tech, or just wait until a stealth rework as well? I think the Prowler hover tech's a long way off, just because at the moment,
Squadron
the Prowler's
42.
the only thing it benefits.
Squadron 42, it does also, the other way you could look at the hover tech is the hover bikes. So really, it's just them taking that tech and kind of, I'm not going to say copy paste because it's a little bit more than that, but you get what I mean. Like they can start there and start to port it over. There's other tech that the Prowler needs too, like the air shields, you know, and there are other ships that use the air shields. But again, you've got to look through everything, literally through the lens of Squadron 42. You know, if it's not in Squadron 42, it just instantly drops off the list. You know how you hear, like, and this is not to take a crack at people, but this is to let people answer why to their own question. You see a lot of PvP content creators going, why don't they balance the game? Why don't they do this? That's the answer. Because it's not a priority, because they're working on Squadron 42. And I've heard, like, I've been seeing in people's chats and they go, why don't they just hire me? Or why don't they just hire a bunch of us content creators to balance the game for them? One, if you did it on your own, you'd be biased for the same reasons. That's why they do it in a team to begin with. And two, as soon as they assigned a producer to you, a producer would look at it going, what is the best use of your time? And they'll essentially assign you straight to Squadron 42. Harsh reality, but true. So, yeah. All right, next question. Now I've ranted. Sorry.
And Walker 300 asks, what unreleased ships do you think will be good for the Pyro update?
What do I think would be good for the Pyro update? I have a sneaking suspicion, right? And I could do a poll. I could do a poll on this, quite honestly, and I probably will, actually, just for a bit of fun. I would like them to take the Kraken and do the outside of it like they did for the Idris. I think that would be really cool to go, right, in Pyro we have Krakens that we can do missions. You know, the what's those missions that lead to the Idris, the stolen Idris, the Arlington gang.
The Arlington gang.
Yeah, Arlington gang missions. I want that, but for Pyro. And so it's like Crusader security going in, and so they, you know, they rock up and go, no, you're not coming into Pyro, this is our house, you know, and they rock up with their Kraken and you got to get them out of there or something like that. So I think that could be kind of interesting. But it would just be the shell of the Kraken. And then I also sit there and go, is that a good use of their resources? But the other part of it is, we've seen the Kraken in a commercial recently. So there are assets for that thing, right? It is sitting around there. But as for ships, I don't know. I'll let you speak for a bit about it, what I think on it. What's your take?
Yeah, a couple instantly kind of spring to mind. One of them makes sense up until you realise that drone gameplay isn't anywhere near, but More
That's not
refuel gameplay.
Sorry, that's not entirely true. They actually talked about something about 6 months ago that would lead to drone gameplay, and they literally said if we did this now, it would lead to drone gameplay. So there are things that are pushing towards drone. Sorry, I just thought you might want to know that.
So the Vulcan makes sense to me as another rearm repair platform, refuel, more to the point.
Yep.
And at a much lower price point than the effing Gemini. There's Liberator, makes sense because it's a shipping ship to get your stuff if you want to go from Pyro into Stanton because you decide that being a pirate's not for you, or you want to go and be a pirate and you want to take stuff from Stanton just to experience that gameplay, then why not?
I'm wondering how little work it would take them to make it available so you could actually put ships into cargo containers and then put the cargo containers on a whole sea. Because if you can already put the cargo containers on a ship, how much harder it is just to say what's the content in that? And it's probably harder.
Invalidating the Liberator, probably not a lot.
Well, it means they wouldn't have to make a whole Liberator. That's my point.
But they've already sold it.
No. As in, what's the least amount of effort? You know what I mean? Because if you can make it, if you can get go into a cargo container, it won't just work on the whole sea. It'll work on any other ship. Like it'll work on a raft, as an example, right? So my point being is, you can do things for multiple ships, or you can do it for one ship, and it just allows them to kick the Liberator down the road. I don't know. I'm just playing devil's advocate here, but yeah.
I don't know. I mean, for I suppose for light fighters and for stuff that you would expect to fly off a carrier, thinking of the fact that things like stuff that isn't designed to fly off of carriers at the moment in the real world, like Apaches, they have now been marinized, but anything that's designed to fly off a carrier, the rotors fold.
Yep.
So they take up less space, because you imagine the biggest thing that takes up space on an Apache is the rotor disc. It's huge. It's much bigger than the footprint of the aircraft. Apaches initially were not designed, unlike the Cobra, for example. The Cobra was designed to fly amphibiously because it was a Marines aircraft, not an Army aircraft. So you would have this thing fold up. So it was just the length of it, right? Whereas to do that with an Apache, you actually risk damaging the aircraft, because the rotor head was designed in such a way that when you put the rotors in place, it wasn't supposed to be taken apart and reaffixed every day for more flying, and so they could be stored. So, yeah, there are obviously aircraft like the Hornets, the Gladiator, stuff that, like the Arrow, you can see that the Arrow is designed to fold up pretty damn small. All that sort of stuff that's that's designed to fly that way. Obviously, once you get the bigger stuff, clearly not. I mean, I would argue, just looking at the thumbnail there, that the damn Redeemer, that thing, is not going to necessarily just fold up any neater than it already is. Because actually taking the bottom module out doesn't save you any space whatsoever, because you're not putting anything else in that space.
Yeah, you just kind of have extended landing gear, wouldn't you?
So, yeah, I think the other question there from a gameplay point of view is, I think they'll, for a long time, stick with the system that we have now, which is all your ships are floating in the ether and then they're magically delivered to wherever you claim them the first time. And from then, it's into the system that we're already using. But,
so what unreleased ships do you think would be good for Pyro? So, coming back to the original question, SRB again, because you could actually essentially use to tow stuff. And I'm actually running it through in my head. There actually isn't any there that I think that are in the pool at the moment that are specific for Pyro. But I think what I would add to that, now I've kind of given a negative to give a positive, is start looking at the ships that we already have, where it's going to start to kind of separate the wheat from the chaff, so to speak. One of those fighters I keep coming back to is the Defender. Like, I just keep like it's an alien ship. It costs a lot of money, but it's essentially a saber, but it's a long range saber. you know. So, and it's got beds, you know, and you use it in game right now. It's a really good A to B vehicle, believe it or not. I use it quite a bit. There's quite a few ships like that. You know, their default components are good. They go a quite, you know, long distance. You know, there's ships in the game right now. It'll take you 12 minutes to make some of those between 2 planet jumps, and then there are other ships that can do it in 2 minutes, and that's one of those ships that can do it. You know, and that's just one example I'm going to give you. But you can see, once we get that bigger system in, I think a lot of people, like we've been saying, like you got to look at this game at release. I think there's going to be, I'm hoping and praying there's going to be a click in a lot of people's heads, and they're going to go from this now mentality to, and not all content creators like this. Like I've met content creators that, you know, they are big PvPers, but they are really aware of the now. But there's a lot of people that they'll recommend things like, you know, the Antares comes out, so they're just like, yeah, buy the Antares, it's amazing, blah 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 blah. You know, like that's not the way I roll. You know, I'm setting myself up for when the final game comes out, because that's what I'll be playing. You know, you know, and if I was playing all the time like they are right now, I'd be setting myself up with those ships so I could play right now, but I would have exit strategies with CCUs to get to that stuff at the end, you know? And I think that's what you should be looking at. And I think it's going to change the perspective of a lot of people on how they look at the ships. And you know, I'm just hoping that's a bit of a wake-up call for people. I don't know. Do you kind of think it might change people's outlook a bit? How long do you reckon I'll wait until I realize he's muted? That's really interesting. Yep. You want to unmute yourself now? Do you know you're muted? No,
Fuck's sake. Hello. I'll talk with, yeah, fun. Oh, it's been one of those days.
Yep.
So what I was going to say was, yes, I think people need to ditch the immediacy of things. Because one of the things that they keep doing is that they're shortening stuff that they don't intend to shorten. Yep. So at the moment, when you quantum to a major landing zone, you end up 20 Ks away.
Yeah,
that's not permanent. That's going to go away.
You reckon?
Like the climb that people that they've said as much.
20 Ks is not that. So you actually reckon you can be able to land right on?
Yeah.
I don't think 20 Ks is very far.
Other way. Other way.
It's going to be much further.
I think you're going to have to manual re-entry this ship. I don't think people are going to be quantuming down. I think if you look at what Horizon is, that's much more likely to be the kind of the standard. That everything's, you know, people say, oh, it takes too long to get to your ship. Brace yourselves. I don't think it's going to be. I don't think it's going to be quick. And I think the instant I'm going to get my ship out, I'm going to reclaim it. They've already said the reclaim timers are massively shortened for alpha. So if you think it's a long time to get your hammerhead out now, give it a few years. You know, reclaiming your Idris, Kraken, Polaris. You know, you're talking probably the length of a raid reset in WoW.
I don't know. I'm not sold on that. I could see it. I could see it going. What you're saying, though, I can see that. But I can just see I don't think we have a precedent for it yet. Is what I'm saying. When I see or hear that, I'll let you know. I haven't heard any way, like one way or the other. But my initial reaction is what they've got right now. That's the only precedent we have. So I'm more likely to say it's going to stay the way it is because that's the precedent. If there was a precedent,
I might need to backpedal on it very quickly. Because I don't have the source, and I hate it when this happens because I do like when I've heard something is actually say.
So what you're saying is you did have a source, but you don't know where it is. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, I remember in one of the videos they talked about shifting the distance so we got closer, and they were like, "Don't get too comfortable with it. It's not going to be permanent. It's not going to be forever."
Okay. All right. Well, when if you can find that, yeah, or if someone knows where that is, please drop it in chat, and we'll have a look at that.
Yeah.
I vaguely remember something along those lines, but I remember it a little differently. But yeah, I remember them, yeah, because they put a lot of work in to get splines to work, right? And so to set it up to do what it is like right now, that would all be for naught. And one of the things I know that I've known following this is they don't do anything twice. And they try not to do anything temporary. Why do you reckon the star map's so shit? Because, you know what I mean? Like, just, yeah, that'll do. And we'll redo it later, you know, like.
In Squadron 42, they have completed your holographic map being your star map. So now you can zoom into that and continue zooming in and use it as your star map. So the rework for the single player, before anyone gets excited, appears to be very nearly complete.
They did say though that they would copy over that star map towards the end of this year though as well. So hopefully there's another thing before 4.0 to put on to that list that we were talking about before. So yeah. Right, next question.
Okay, so Joshua Abeliter, apologies mate if I'm butchering that, says, what makes you believe people don't think you're associated with CIG?
We give CIG enough shit as we give everyone else. Anyway, yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, I'm going to give you my answer as a personal content creator because it will inform the whole Inforunners conversation. Is that we are associated to a point, and by to a point, we are anyone who creates content for Star Citizen is operating under their. And I forget what it's called. I can look in the description of any one of my videos, but in effect,
we're about to say terms of service by CIG.
So that their terms of service, their what is in effect their end license agreement for us says that we're able to take any of their material, their music, which is why our videos often have their music on it because we can use that without royalty, right? If I wanted to put Top Gun music into a video, to do that and still be able to monetize, I need to approach the label that has that. I need to get an agreement with them, which inevitably costs a ridiculous amount of money because they're talking about they license with film companies, not some random YouTuber that's just scraped over 2,000 subscribers. Right, so you're talking hundreds, if not thousands of dollars to get a lifetime license for one piece of music. So what CIG have said is we're not going to DMCA strike you. We're not going to hammer you for using any of the music. You promise that you don't deface any of our logos, that you don't try to pass our work off as your own. And that anything that you make is, we obviously get all the money from it, but what we can't do is we can't paywall it. So I can't create a website that charges for you to see my stuff exclusively. So I can't say the only way you can see my stuff is you subscribe to my website and then you get access to my videos. You can't do that shit. And they can take my video and use it as they want. Right. So when they do that in ISC and Star Citizen Live, they don't have to ask because it's their stuff.
It's tit for
that's it.
Tit for tat.
Yeah, and that's where the association stops. I think if it ever happens that I'm given a ship, and I know Inforunners do this as well, if I'm ever given a ship to say, here you go, have a ship to give away on your stream or on a video or whatever, if that comes with strings, I won't do it.
We also always say who it's from, like it's from CIG when it's from CIG. The other thing I was going to say too is it's one of the reasons why I never like to do stuff alone, like why I like to always have at least two of us here, because of that multiple opinion thing. I don't like it comes back to when we started doing speculation all those years ago. It became very clear very, very quickly to me, speculating alone is very dangerous. Right? And as soon as you just have one other person's brain in the room, so to speak, it checks you. Right. and some of the Inforunners themselves, you know who I'm talking about here. There's one of us, he considers himself very negative. I don't know if you've actually talked to him, actually, believe it or not, but when he's there, right, he really checks everyone. And there'll be times where there might be 4 of us in the room, and he feels like he's completed opposite ends with everyone else in the room. But the thing is, it still makes everything we're saying valid. You know what I mean? So that you've got someone there being a really harsh critic, it can still balance out what, you know, it just reinforces that when 4 people are on the same page and one person is not, that chances are you are onto something, but you still have to take everything with a grain of salt.
Yes.
Right. And that's the thing, like what, and it's the same thing when it comes to CIG. I love what they're doing, but they're just humans. So you know, everything we try to do here is a balanced approach. We don't want to be too heavy-handed with CIG, but we don't want to be too light with CIG. Is the thing what I'm getting at. And I guess there are some people that think we're associated with CIG, but we're not. We're just like you guys. We're just guys that love the game, and we started talking about it, and that's all it is, you know. And every content creator out there, I can tell you right now, there is no real content creator that I'm aware of, right? And I've talked to I get around and I talk to all of them. I can tell you now, when I've talked to some of the bigger content creators in this space, they don't have special connections. Nothing more special than any other has, right? I think the only difference at the moment are those that kind of get given ships to give away and those that don't, right? And that's just a bar that CIG set, right? And if you get big enough, you'll get there and they'll help you with them to give away. Other than that, there's no special connections. There's no insider knowledge. You know, it's not like Chris Roberts is coming up to Board Gamer Morpholis in a backroom meeting going, hey, this is what's going down. You know, any of us can email Tile or whatever and ask a question. That's just how it works. There was no backroom deal. So don't think that there's anyone that's got exclusive material over anyone else. That's not how it works, right? Everything that they share on ISC is why they do an ISC, because then everyone's getting the same information. There's no backdoor deals there, so don't worry about that. Everyone's on the same page. CIG are very fair when it comes to this stuff.
As to
oh, don't get me started on that. That was sorry, I'm being very vague here deliberately. He said he was joking, but he weren't joking, right? And I'm talking to you, Lemming. But anyway, all right. Sorry, Badges, go ahead.
So I'll only talk from personal, and you know, X will. There's a reason you don't see me on videos that talk about monetary value in ships.
Yeah,
because I don't operate that way. And you know, we've discussed that at length, right?
Yeah. Well, I asked Badges if he wanted to fix my fleet, and he told me to go fuck myself. No, no. He just said, he said what he said then. Actually, he said he didn't feel comfortable doing monetary recommendations. So that's fair enough.
But yes, exactly that. And the thing is that, and this isn't a dig because I'll qualify this, is I don't have the knowledge that Algorithms that Execute do over CCUs and how all that system works. Just ask Can, one of our moderators. He tried to help me get to a reclaimer. He's now bald because I forced him to pull out so much hair explaining shit to me. Right? I just don't operate like that. So the fact that I'm sat on a live stream on a channel of 14,000 people doesn't qualify me over anyone else in the chat. All I do is I read a lot of stuff. But
we have you here predominantly from your military background, you know? Like,
yes.
That's how we found you, through your military stuff and your Navy stuff. And just like when we get Estee on for episodes, that's why we get him on as well. And he's not an Inforunner, but he's just as knowledgeable as you. It's just that you make content and that's
that's the only place in all of my stuff I claim to speak with any authority over and above I read it in what CIG said is my military experience as an ex-Navy officer. That is where I have authority because I speak from personal experience. I speak from being trained. I speak from 12 years operating with the Navy or in the Navy. That's my experience, right? But that's my, is it like, when I say authority, what I mean is I come from a place of, I can tell you how this is. I'm not doing that with the game. I'm doing that with my military background. right?
The reason I said lens is it's really
Yeah.
interesting when we all sit down and we do some form of speculation. And I remember that time, which turned out to be, it started off that professional point of view thing where me, you, and Cyrus were doing that episode. And I can't remember exactly what it was, but I said something, you said something, and then he went, I see it differently. And he explained from his medical background, and it totally changed the pitch of what you and I were thinking, right? And that's, I always remember that conversation because it was a key moment that rolled off into other episodes. The point I'm getting at is I've had conversations where there's a person in the room that thinks they've got absolutely nothing to add, but they have this lens because of their experience. They can change the entire. So don't ever rule out your experience. Don't do that because you'll never be surprised where it'll at stuff.
I'm going to be brutally honest. It's a skill that the Navy and the Forces drills into people. Okay. In the nicest possible way, I don't give a fuck what people think. Okay. Here's the reality. I'm only associated insofar as I'm bound by their end user agreement for content creators. I've never been given a ship by them for myself. I've never been given a ship by them to give to anyone else. And me, my channel, and Inforunners, same for both, is you're seeing us. We're not putting on personas. This isn't Dr. Disrespect. You know, this is, you're seeing us. And as far as I'm concerned, the biggest thing I can walk away with is saying, do you know what? I've got my integrity intact. I've been honest with people. I'm treating you in this conversation the same way as I would treat if we were sat at a bar chatting.
I think I have to add to that then and say that's the same thing with CIG. When they give us those ships, they literally say to give away as you please. You know, to those words to that effect, and it'll be said in different ways every single time. But there are no restrictions on how we do things. You know what I just realized? I totally forgot to do It's Not a Tuna. Damn, that's like my whole mind. Man, I need to do that for next week now. Shit, totally. Sorry, apologies for that, guys. Totally forgot about that.
But that's it, is that, you know, I'll be honest with you straight up, you know, and if I get invited to do something at CIG, I would be honest about that as insofar as I was able to. The only way I might be associated with CIG is I keep umming, and we've spoken about this before, X, is that I keep umming and ahhing about sending them a CV and just saying, if you ever wanted to talk to someone with military experience, I can provide my veteran stuff that proves that I'm Navy, not just some dude on a channel saying it.
And what do I keep saying to you?
To do it.
Yeah, because you've got to be in it to win it. It's just that simple.
Yeah.
You know.
But of course it would obviously, you know, no mate, I'm UK. I'm Royal Navy. I'm one of those colonial monsters.
How can he not tell you're British? He probably thinks you're Australian. I get that all the time.
You know,
I think I'm
that's
British.
the only way. I've not done it yet. And if I ever did it, I would talk about it as much as CIG would allow. But, you know, if that ever happened, again, I would be honest with you guys. I'm working with them. I can't be more specific than that. You know, it would probably preclude me from having my own channel if I was to do that. So I have to think very careful about doing it. You know?
Quite honestly, there are people that have gone to work for CIG and they've had to close down their channels. You know, that's just kind of a part of it. There's too much bias there. So yeah. And I think
bottom line, I don't give a fuck. It's for people to prove an accusation, not for me to disprove it.
I think I'd add just really quickly. CIG staff themselves are just as passionate about this game. A lot of them are, as we are. You know, you'll see them on Spectrum, although, you know, we've had people drop by the stream, as many other streamers have. They are just as passionate as we are. They want to see this game succeed. So, yeah, I can't talk to it anymore.
Never says he's a bit shit on accents unless you lay it on thick. No problem, old boy. I shall do my best to indicate that I am, in fact, English.
Crikey!
The Queen's English.
Oh, look at that beard, it's huge! Do you want me to do the Aussie one? Crikey! G'day, mate. Chuck another shrimp on the barbie. I don't know. Whatever.
Right, just reflex reaction.
All right, Forerunner Captain says, question, is there any word on the Grey Tat UTV? No.
But this is the British one because his shirt has a collar.
He's the fancy one.
Mate, you've made my evening. That's it. I can stop streaming now. I'm done. I'm out.
All right.
Okay.
So is there any
Forerunner
word,
Captain.
any word
Sorry,
on any word on the Grey Cat UTV? No, there is not. There hasn't been any word. That's just another one of the ship's vehicles in the list of things to come. And there's been no word on it since it was linked at the end of the was it CitizenCon last year? I think that was, yeah. So this isn't a V-neck. It's just I'm really fat and it sags. Yeah, my big teddies. No,
it's so he can show up his cleavage like I'm doing.
You don't want to look at my chest hair, do you? Yeah.
Anyway. Waffle Insanity asks, the Rock DS, we all hate it. We see no need for it. How would you feel about its mining laser swap for a tractor beam? This gives the driver something to do and the lifter both working together and simultaneously.
Yeah, I just chucked this under. It was made for Squadron 42. They saw an opportunity to sell something, so they did. And I just really think they should have thought long and hard before they tried to put a single-player asset into a multiplayer game. They probably didn't have anything at that point, and it was a really cheap, swap over things. So, yeah.
Yep. Yeah. Look, you can tell that we're not associated with CIG because I've just read Man on Crutch's comment, and that is so spot on. Best thing I've learned from watching Inforunners for many years is honesty. You guys always tell us your opinions with no bias when it comes to ships and CIG. Yeah, you can tell we're not associated by how fucking far off we are sometimes. It's like, that's not what it was at all. Okay, yeah. We'll shut the fuck up then. Yes, Waffle, hopefully that'll happen anyway, because it'd be a utility hard point, so hopefully it'll be swappable, outable. But that'll make loading a little bit fun.
I'll answer it
if you think I'm not going to fuck with you when you're sat in the tractor beam seat and I'm driving, you've got another thing coming.
You would hope long-term that they have something that differentiates it a lot more from the regular Rock. So I think we can all be on that agreement. They might come back and give it some extra benefits to separate it and make it a little bit, punch a little bit higher than its actual weight. So yeah. All right, next question.
Monster AV asks, do you think we will get a larger dedicated boarding ship, or will it be more likely to be combined into a bounty hunter-esque ship?
I'm going to throw this to you. Military-wise, do they have really big boarding ships, like, ever?
You've said boarding, and all I can see in my head is people swinging across on the mast. And it's like, if it's not some version of that, I'm not interested.
The Drake Galley.
Yar!
For those of you that can't see it, we're swinging on ropes. Anyway, yeah.
Yes, yeah. Everyone's just like, what are these two fucking idiots doing? I think it makes sense to be smaller vessels rather than larger. Because actually when you imagine two javelins fighting, one becomes disabled, the other one pulls up alongside it for the boarding, it'd actually be quite good fun to then be cutting your way in and trying to hack and, using breaching charges. I think that kind of precludes a larger vessel. I feel like they've kind of reached the limits of utility with the Legionnaire.
The best one I've ever heard of was I was talking with it's on an episode. I was talking with Agent and Moist, and I floated them my idea of the the reclaimer cutter thing with the magnet thing on it. And I think it was Agent that came back to me and said, wouldn't it be really cool if there was a cutter that had seats in it like in the steel? So just you strip everything out, it's just seats, has that magnetic thing on it, and it just comes up to ships and magnetizes onto them. So if they warp or anything like that, you go with them. So once you've magnetized onto them, they can't lose you. But one thing they could do is if they are willing to damage themselves, so they could put like a C4 charge on the other side of the magnet and just blow the ship off. That would be really... Can you imagine the gameplay that would have? Like people trying to actually actively scramble around your ship because they're magnetized to it. That just sounded really awesome to me when he threw that idea and all the things that went through my head. So yeah, I'm to answer the question essentially is no, I don't think you'll see bigger boarding ships. I think you are more likely to see smaller ones. And from what a lot of the like both Moist and Agent said is they want cheap, really cheap, replaceable, almost disposable boarding craft because they're going in under fire. You know, again, I think the Legionnaire also speaks to that price at $120. Like when I first saw that, I went, "Oh, that's a $220 ship," but it's not. It's only $120, and I think it speaks to that, like because it, you know, the way it's got all that front-facing armor and stuff like that. They're like you see that thing come in, it's like shit, shoot the shit out of that. We don't want that getting anywhere near us, you know, and that's what those ships are. They're disposable because they're going into fire, you know. And
or the you know, you get something that's much more bespoke and specialized, like the Prowler. Because that was its whole use, right? It uses its maglev things to get close to UEE ships. People would board it from the outside. The Prowler would disappear and never be detected. Was the idea. So yeah. Monstravia asks, do you think the Santoki Eye and its high maneuverability will be better able to take advantage of the eventual speed tweaks and combat changes, or would the Arrow Gladius stay the meta?
So say
I'd like to think it could go that way.
I want to talk off the cuff for a moment. All the sneak peeks in the last couple of weeks have all been of the Santoki Eye. Can we get a new sneak peek, please? Because it's getting a bit old. Like they just keep showing different angles of the Santoki Eye. But anyway, sorry, you go.
Yeah, I think that's it. You know, I would like to see it go that way. You would think it would make sense to go that way. You know, that there's some difference to alien ships over than just the fact they look alien and that they open and have hover steps to get in. You'd like to think.
I can't remember the name of the particular tech, but there is a particular tech we're waiting on for things like the articulation of engines and stuff like that. And I can't remember what it's called, but I know it affects a lot of the alien ships. For example, the Talon, I believe, is one of them, because, you know, it's got those feather things at the back at the moment that just sit here like that. They're actually meant to be like squid tentacle things. They're meant to maneuver like that. But that tech's not in yet because, again, it's probably not needed for Squadron 42. So at the moment, they're just stationary. But apparently that also affects the articulation of certain engines. So you know how the way the Zions move, they're going to be a lot more jelly-like, and that tech's just not in at the moment. So yeah, I can't remember the name of it.
Yeah.
I'm sure someone in chat might be able to tell me what it is. But,
Moo235 says Space Marine boarding torpedoes, ? Yes, because brakes are for wimps and whiplash is just weakness leaving the body.
He's not joking. There was one of the modules for the Caterpillar was a search and rescue module that literally launched people onto other ships.
Yes, that.
And if they do make that module, I wouldn't be surprised if there's like a smaller ship that just does that. So you imagine a Cutlass that just had it, so it, you know, it's got some kind of launcher thing that you put up to the side door. You just position your Cutlass and just shoot a guy across. Stealth, you know, like if you don't see them coming because they're running silent, and then they just do a little jetpack just before they land.
Daily Noobs just said, that's so fucking Drake, I'm buying a cat now.
Yeah, it's one of the reasons I got one. Yeah.
I could just, like, literally, if they brought that in and you had boarding torpedoes like that, I would literally role play insurance, and it would literally be bang, the doors would open, and I'd step out in a suit and just be like, hi, we've been trying to reach you about your ship's extended warranty.
Can you imagine a torpedo, like, so work on the Retaliator or something like that, where you load a guy into it, you fire it, it hits the ship, and it's like an adhesive, and then it pops open, and then he just walks onto your... So it's just it's like a magnetized torpedo, and it just attaches, and then he just walks on. So it's, that'd be cool.
Yeah, there's you know, if you want to go down the 40K kind of copying stuff across, there's a ship. Remind me, Moo235. Forge World did it for ages. It's called the Boarding. Basically what it is it's this huge ship. The front of it is just armored, and it's just designed to go and ram into a ship with 2 troop compartments, and in the middle it's just got this whole bunch of lasers and cutting equipment. So as it goes in, it just activates it all, just melts its way through into the ship, and then the things open. I forget what it's called, for the love of me. I can't remember what it's called. But yes, I want to say something with you and R. But yeah, they've got all sorts of crazy kind of ideas of yeah, it's just basically it's so Dave Lobe on Twitch has said it's the brute ram ship. Yeah, that was like that was the frigate sized version, the Orcs. It was just a ship with a massive metal blade, and its whole idea is to just go
there is a
bang and just slam into stuff.
There is a Van Duel one that was designed for boarding that has, I can't remember the name of it, I can look it up, but it's almost like a you know, looks almost like a Coca-Cola can with teeth, and it literally just like flies in like that and grabs on like that, and literally bores into the hull.
Yeah, it wasn't beginning with an R, it was beginning with a C. It's the Castus Assault Ram.
Yeah.
And I've got a picture of it here.
Yeah, send it to me.
Or I can fling it across to you.
I am more than capable of using Google myself, but I don't know if
Castus is not easy, dude. You have a go for Castus, but it's an AE sort of affair.
All right, which one of these is it? Yep. All right, here we go. So which one of these is it? All of them?
Yeah. So that top line, that double pod idea. Mm-hmm. Try and maybe do the second or third one along, because they show the equipment in the middle that's designed to cut.
They're all tiny.
Yeah.
Tiny. Yeah, but I can see guns and stuff.
Grond will breach it.
Yeah, I think they are moving more towards using the docking collars and stuff now. There was a talk for a long time about being able to make breach holes, and I think they've just gone to the safer metrics essentially of the docking collars and stuff like that. So yeah. But Squadron 42 can break that mold because you can obviously have scripted events and stuff like that because it's single player. So
and you can have stuff that is absolutely strictly military and everyone else doesn't get. I mean, there's a reason why even in countries where you can buy weapons, you can buy ARs and all that sort of stuff, but no one's selling depleted uranium rounds or javelin missiles unless you're in the Ukraine right now.
No, wrong one. That's a good one. Look, it actually shows the doors coming down, and
so you've got the doors coming down, and basically between it you can just see it as a little circular thing. But the whole idea of this thing is it just unleashes missiles, and then that cutting beam just heats the ship to the point where the armor's malleable, and then it punches into it. And it's basically supposed to be a one-use weapon. It does have those huge kind of bits at the top to try and allow it to disengage, but most of them would just go in and knacker themselves utterly. But you would then, Space Marines would be on your ship, and then you'd be in a world of hurt.
I'm going to be honest with you, and we've kind of talked about this on other things too. Like down the line, there's almost no limit to the ships that they can do down the line. Get the grid filled out, so to speak, and then come back and
Thank you very much, Stop and Sniffer. P52 Marlin is the referral bonus ship. Good call, Alex.
Oh, nice.
Just posted on Comlink.
No. Someone else said that, not me. And it was Archimedes, not Merlin. They wanted the Archimedes for the racing stuff, but yeah.
Gotcha.
Yeah. Cool. All right.
Cool.
Next question.
Okay, so Monster AV asks, speaking on the Galaxy and the Expanse, do you think we'll get any news on player refining or any news on the Starfarer rework and fuel refining? No, I think you've identified when stuff is going to happen. That's all likely to come in at the same time, or you'll get, they'll break refining down into a number of areas. You'll be refining gases, you'll be refining liquids, solids, but that will break down into, you'll refine stuff that goes into SCU boxes, and then you'll be refining stuff that goes into fuel, so quantanium, hydrogen, that sort of stuff.
And as regards to the Starfarer, they've said yes, but they haven't said when. So yeah, again, it comes back to that priority order. There's no real priority to do it because Squadron 42 comes first. You've got to imagine when PU development really kicks off, so Star System really kicks off. What do you want? You want me to pick you up? I'm busy, darling. Come on.
While Alex is playing with his bits,
Bum.
Are we going to get cat cam this stream?
Something happened to the camera. I have to get another one. So yeah,
oh, no.
I will probably get a webcam and get one set up. Yeah. I'll just get a look here. Hello to everyone. Look, Bum, you meant to look with the face.
Meow.
Doesn't look
That
impressed.
cat is not impressed.
No, she's
Cat's
not.
like, you don't put me down in 3 seconds, I'm gonna claw your eyeballs out.
She's very loud though, like as a cat. She just.
Is that how to try to get your attention the first time?
Yep. That was.
Yeah.
Could you hear it?
Okay.
Oh yeah.
Only on the first one. I don't know how many mews you got, but we definitely got the first mew.
About 3 or 4, but she'll just sit here and purr constantly. So yeah, anyway. Very loud. Her brother's the
so we can
opposite,
get cat ASMR at the same time as us talking chat about Star Citizen. I like it. Okay, North End Trooper asks, do you believe the Polaris will be released this year?
Ooh.
I'd love to say yes. The cynic in me says no.
Actually, there was a thing. Let's go. Like, hang on, back over here.
I think so much has been punted to next year now.
Have we switched over?
Unfortunately,
I hope we have. Polaris, because I think it ends. Yeah, we have switched over. I saw it come through on the other screen. Polaris. Sorry, I've got a cat on my lap. 24 weeks, ends in September, and that does say encompassing all tasks, including design, art, audio, and tech required to implementation of the RSI Polaris.
Which
that really speaks to me as CitizenCon.
Because we've had this fun before, but that one looks more promising because the team there, just looking, it looks like that's the EU vehicle content team as well.
That's it.
Because we've had it say that before, and it's like, oh look, it's only the art teams, the concept art teams that are working on it. But that one actually looks like the vehicle content team. So
I would say it probably is kind of beholden to server mission, though. You know. And the advantage of the Polaris over some of the other big ships, much like say the 890 Jump and things like that, is they're not got that secrecy thing about you know, like the Idris and the Javelin, because they're being held back for Squadron 42. And I'm just noticing a first-time chatter in Twitch over. It says the Vandal Cleaver. Yes, that is the ship I was thinking of. Thank you very much. I was trying to remember the name of it. That's the cam I was talking about. Yeah. All right, but yeah, your thoughts on...
I think a lot of stuff's being punted back to next year now. I would be very surprised if they still manage to deliver Pyro this year. Because, you know, that last year, multiple times they mentioned Pyro. This year they mentioned it in a couple of their videos. And they went, I think they said it a couple of times at CitizenCon as well. But I think PES has punted that back.
I think the other part, real quickly, is it's got the Squadron 42 icon in it as well. So I think it does put it up in the priority order quite a bit.
Yes.
I don't think it... I don't know, you tell me. I just, at this late stage, I wouldn't see, because they're doing the internals and that on it, I don't see that being, like, say, in a cinematic or something like that, as in, like, the internals. I far more likely see it as a ship that you would see in the background of something. You know, something where they've had a box and they're essentially just swapping the box over to this ship or whatever. I wouldn't be surprised to see something like a dynamic event with it in. Like we've got the Idris. Yep. True.
But I think it's such a big entity. I think they need server meshing and they need something to start sharing the load. But yeah. On that note, I just want to do, that's probably worth a 5-minute kind of derail of everything. When we talk about progress and when we talk about what they're doing in the back end, I think it's worth now looking back at the progress that's been made on the server side of things in terms of one server, one system, right? Let me know in the chat if you remember when Xeno Threat first happened, they dropped the player cap to 40 to allow for the number of entities. And then they bumped it back up to 50, and then they did Xeno Threat again. And then we've done Xeno Threat now with 100 players in the system per server. And there have been more entities in that. Looking back at my video footage that I've captured from 40, from 50, and from 100, it's a really, I might even do a video on it at some point, but it's really interesting. they basically admitted that the servers were at capacity. So the only way they could do Xenothreat was by dropping 10 players off the server.
Now, just want to talk about some things here I'm looking at in the background. Spirit in June.
You're going to derail me back to ships, aren't you?
Yep.
You fucker.
Crusader in June, just because I've got it up, and then we can go back to what we're talking about. And then there's 4 unannounced ships. And that also ends around September, which is in line with CitizenCon.
Yeah. I'm gonna jump in and answer Vega. Is it Vegas or Vegas? I'm not sure, but Vegas's question in chat now, because it ties into what I'm talking about with the servers. How can they introduce Pyro when the servers are barely functioning now? The servers, forget 318 for a second, right? And I know that's really hard to do because 318 has stuck in everybody's craw, right? But there has been a steady improvement of servers, demonstrably over time. I mean, now you'll find that falling through elevators tends to be a symptom of a loss of connection, whereas it used to be just the way the servers were. Servers have gotten better. They are not where they need to be. That saying they've gotten better, before you dogpile me in chat, saying they've gotten better is not the same as saying they are where they need to be, right? That's not what I'm saying. Why does my autofocus keep doing that to me? Fuck off, autofocus. Hang on, I'm going to kill my autofocus. Stop. I'm going to disappear now. I'm going to fuck up into the distance, but there we go. Right. Yeah, thanks, Waffle. Yeah, the servers are perfect, Badgers. Yeah, don't do that. But there has been steady improvement, right? And then when you look at what's happening with that improvement, it's not just that the servers are improving, it's the servers are improving whilst they're adding stuff. So now we have lots of minables. And just remember that all these SCU crates that weren't in, that came in with 317, when you've got ships like, you've got... Oh.
Sorry, someone's saying, am I using poppers? No, this is a thing that John Citizen got at someone. It's like a Vicks thing for my nose. It just helps me breathe easier, and I don't cough as much.
2 seconds.
Yep.
Sorry, I've had to go to solid copium because they're out of liquid copium.
That has got to be against terms of service. But anyway, you're right.
Yeah, this stream is not monetized.
Yep.
Sorry, Algrid. Yeah, so the servers are getting better as they're adding stuff, and that's what we've got to remember, right? This isn't a steady state game where they're just trying to improve servers. That's not what's happening, right? They're adding things, all the entities that they've added for salvage, all these things that we can now go and find, all the stuff that's left behind, all these bodies that are kicking around everywhere. They're having an effect, but there is a general trend upward in servers. Okay, so they're improving, and I think it's worth recognizing that it's not just that they've been able to add more stuff to the servers. This is adding stuff to the servers whilst doubling the player cap. So yeah. There's so much speculation on what I've just snorted or not. Nothing, by the way. Look. But yeah. So yeah, no, you're all good, Vegas. And I think this is the thing: is no, the servers are not where they need to be. That's not going to happen until server meshing comes in, because it turns out that server-side container streaming and object container streaming are going to work really well when you can dynamically allocate that load to different servers. It turns out at the moment, it makes no difference at all in Stanton when you've got some player at ArcCorp, you've got some players over at Microtech, you've got a bunch doing all the new stuff in and around Crusader, some people are still around Lawville doing that stuff, because the server's still streaming everything in. And that's why during Xenothreat, you found that actually some Xenothreat servers ran really well, because everyone was doing Xenothreat. So, yeah, no, I'm not showing you up my nose again. But, because everyone was around Microtech in the Xenothreat event, the rest of the server wasn't streamed in.
Mm.
So there's that. Yeah, and yes, and yes, PES was always going to be a dumpster fire. Expect a similar dumpster fire when static server meshing comes in, and then expect catastrophic failure when we start switching to dynamic, because at some point dynamic servers are going to drop a service that isn't picked up by another server, which catastrophically crashes the game, which means wipe, which means all the servers being taken down. You know that's going to happen on a damn weekend when people aren't in till Monday.
I think the other positive thing, just to add to that before you go full...
Before I continue punching people's morale into...
It will most likely have something like that happen, but it's also going to be just like this is. If you actually sit here and think about how quickly it actually has improved with 3.18, you know, think about the size and the scope of the game that we're talking about, right? If they do the same thing with, you know, dynamic server meshing and it takes 3 months, I'm serious, that is still a very quick turnaround for how big of a system this is. It is something that affects every state of the game. So I know we sound like broken records when we're going over and over this stuff, but I guarantee people in chat that have been here as long as I have or have been here for any length of time will tell you the same thing. It's always, you know, a step back and then 2 steps forward, a step back or 2 steps forward. It's always like that. And it gets better every single time. As long as that progress is being made, you know, I've never, put it this way, I don't think I can there's probably one, but I definitely in recent memory, I can't think of one where the next patch that came out, it was worse when that patch was finished than when it began.
Yeah.
It's always better than the one before it. By the end. By the end.
Yeah. Yeah. And you know, these growing pains are going to continue ad nauseum. And just remember that, you know, Daily Noob says the same. It says dynamic server meshing, wipe Crash City. I'm so keen to head up Spectrum with some popcorn when that happens. I think that will be the stream. We'll just sit on Spectrum and just critique people's posts.
Do you know I wanted stuff up. I'll share it on stream because I've never shared this publicly. But I said to Agrid, I want to do a weekly show called On the Spectrum, and he said no because CIG would grill me. But I actually wanted to do that because that's what it felt like. There were some people out there that were just, they had the weirdest hot takes, and I just thought it'd been hilarious to do a show called On the Spectrum because that's. Hey, no, it's on the spectrum. It's on Spectrum. So I'm, you know, but then I can hide behind what it actually means.
It's not on the Spectrum. It's on Spectrum. That's not what it is, X. That's not. It's who was it in YouTube chat that says I'm here for the sanity? Sorry, failed.
Yeah.
I had no idea who was going to say. Do you know what I'm going to get you for Christmas this year, X? Is I'm going to get you one of those e-collars you get when you're training a dog that provides an electric, but I'm going to keep the control.
No, the other way around. So you keep the collar. You keep the collar and send me the. Yeah.
Stop it.
You keep the collar.
Bad execute. Down, boy.
Anyway. You're never getting me to put it on. Actually, no, I'll put it on the algorithm and you just. I'll just keep doing things and you'll keep zapping him. That'd be funny. Yeah.
Oh, good. I'm sorry, dude. I'm not going to say.
You're going to apologize for all the zaps in advance. Is what you're trying to say?
Moving swiftly on. Kyle Smith asks, do you think there's any chance the recent 13-month delay could be to align its work with, X1 3-month delay? I do apologize. I can't read anymore. It's all the copium. I'll start that again. Kyle Smith asks, do you think there's any chance the recent X1 3-month delay could be to align its work with the 600i rework and ensure all the dimensions work? Perhaps we're getting an X1 day.
So
I hope so.
A lot of those smaller vehicles fell into something that happened to the Andrometer at one point. So they were just coming back to it when they had gaps. And because it's a small vehicle, they can just come back and do it when they've got time. You right there? Chocolate, right. What is it? You're sucking one of those mini little penis lollipops? Right, cool. Yeah, good. Right. Yep. Priceless. Right. No, for me though, the X1, I don't know, what does it really offer? That's what I keep coming back. That's why I think they haven't touched it in so long, because like it doesn't really add anything new. Especially at this time when there
Street
was,
cred.
I don't know, I'd like to see that was a bit more differentiation between the little vehicles, and there just isn't enough for me. It's one of the things Aaron and I talk about a lot. Like, it's one of the reasons we like the G12, because it has an enclosed cab. Would have been really cool if it was a bike with an enclosed cab. That would have really made the X1 unique for me, and it would have actually set it at it would have given it a purpose to exist, because it sets it apart from everything else. Because you realistic break it down, at the moment they're just the same thing for different areas. So a Nox is for street racing, as a Dragonfly is to off-road, but the Dragonfly is probably the best one because it's got the ability to take a second person and it's got cargo. Versatility is king, I think, in those vehicles, because if you're only going to buy one, you want the versatility. What the fuck are you doing? Taking a
I've got my
annually?
little multi-pack on a little stool back here, on a little desk thing back here. So
you keep it in the I thought that was where the ammo goes for the seat, but that's where you keep all your drinks in that. Because you were doing this and you were pointing in the little thing, little hole.
Dude, you don't go around with ammo sat in the autoloader unless you're about to send stuff down range. So yeah, until then it's just like clatter, 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 clatter. Refreshing beverage, woo!
The X1 can't make best in show because it comes out this year. So Feathers is saying Paul is pushing for the X1 to make best in show. It can't, because it came out it'd be coming out this year. It has to come out in the previous year. So yeah, I just can't see that happening. But yeah.
Chase asks, if we are able to pull missiles off of ships, will we be able to make minefields in space? Just rock up and there's 300 size 9 torpedoes.
You've got to make a contact point on the missile for it to explode. So if you hit it in the tail fin, it doesn't explode. So no, unless you rig them with sensors to do that. But that would be like a real life thing versus a gamification. So yeah. No, I don't see it. All right, next question.
Vital Win asks, sorry, you probably want to read that.
Nope, go ahead.
Vital Win asks, do you think CIG will release the Star Hunter or Star Seeker modules of the Genesis Starliner, or variants at the very least?
I think the Genesis, so I'm putting on my Algrid hat here because he probably talks a bit more about the ship than I do, but I would say, based on the things we've discussed, the Genesis is more likely going to get a reconcepting. And I think it was the original ship that kind of pitched Crusader, and much like things like the Endeavour and some of those older ships for the older manufacturers, it has changed. Right, it is not the same manufacturer it was. It has grown and evolved, and I think they would go back and change it, and then you probably get variants. So much like, so if it's called the Genesis, you might see, and I'm just going to spitball here, don't hold me to this, you might see the G2, the M, whatever, you know what I mean? Like that have different names for it. So actually they do it what is it, Hercules? So they'd call it the Genesis. I don't know. Yeah. What's it called? A1, E1. Oh, yeah, what number would that be? That's a really good question. Because is it above the Hercules? I'd have to assume it's above the Hercules. So it would be 3. So you'd be, you get like a cargo variant. So you'd get like the C3. You might have the military variant that they talk about. So that would be the M3. And then you would have, what was the other one? There's one other one and I've forgotten it. But, yeah, okay. I don't know. I might have to talk about that with Algrid. Actually, it's an interesting one. But, yeah, I think if we are going to get the variants and that have been, because there has been a couple of different variants that have come out now, that they've talked about in lore posts and stuff like that. I think that ship is old enough that it warrants a reconcept. Badges, do you want to speak to that? I don't know if that's in your wheelhouse, but
I think the idea of like a mass passenger conveyor is unique enough that it'll stay, and I think when you look at the fact that it's from MISC,
sorry, what was from MISC?
And I know
Sorry, what was from MISC?
The Starliner.
No, Starliner's from Crusader.
It was Crusader, is it?
So that's how much it doesn't look like a Crusader ship anymore. Yeah.
Yeah. Christ. Because what I was gonna say is, if it was a MISC ship, that they stay away from combat stuff, the new fighter notwithstanding. But Crusader clearly don't. M2, fucking A2, and the Ares.
Yeah.
I don't know. It would be nice to have it just stay non-combat. Because if you want real depth in a game like this, you've got to have legitimate, interesting non-combat roles.
So
I know it's weird to hear the military guy say that, but you know, I think on the bombing front, we've got a lot of bombers now.
I think the bombing's a bit done, right? Honestly, but the two versions I remember was like a civilian version that was kind of a bit like there's a ship that goes between Tasmania and mainland Australia called the Spirit, ironically. And the Spirit is like, because it takes 14 hours. So you get on in the afternoon and you're there by morning, and the cars go that's how a lot of people get their cars from Tasmania to the mainland. They basically, you know, put your car in, you have all your shit in your car, and then you just go sleep in one of the cabins, and then you go, you know, and that's essentially what the Genesis Starliner is. It's got, you know, vehicles in the bottom, or small ships in the bottom, and you fly up the top. And then the military version that was for troop transport, and it had tonks and military vehicles in the bottom. So it is essentially the same vehicle. I could only imagine the difference being, much like the C2 to the M2, is one has more armor than the other. And other than that, it is actually exactly the same. Because that's from a gameplay development, it is like from an art asset is exactly the same. It's just slightly different room layout, but that's all they did on the M2 to the C2. You don't really need, what would you really need in a troop transporter over the civilian variant? Other than armor, you wouldn't really need anything, would you?
The other thing is people, you know, a troop transport is a commercial airliner. I mean, you know, the RAF flies people around in DC-10s, for God's sake. And the only difference between a DC-10 that's commercial and a DC-10 that's military is the military one is shitter. Because you don't get any of the mod cons, although I think they kind of decided to skimp on the air conditioning and all that sort of stuff. Because I've been sat on one on a runway in hot weather, and it is not effing pleasant. To the point where there's no way you get away with that on a commercial flight. But we were military, so you just shut up and make do. So yeah, I mean, it is exactly the same thing, because it's not designed to land you anywhere near combat. It's designed to, you know, fly people out to, you know, to revolve regiments through non-combat posts and stuff like that. So yeah.
Hope that answers your question, by the way. All right.
Yeah.
Next one when you're ready.
So, Monstravy says, or asks, post 600i rework, how long do you think they finally get round to reworking the Connie? The Phoenix in particular seems a bit meh for the price. Tough sell versus a CCU 600i.
Connie was the test bed for ship nav mesh. And you can tell that they've done work on it that's involved in Squadron 42. I don't think it will be until after Squadron 42 at the earliest. And I think they'll push that off onto the Star Citizen team rather than Squadron 42 team. That's just my hot take on it. And I know Algrid roughly agrees with me. So I don't know. What's your take?
Yeah, I think the challenge with the Connies now is they obviously know what they're going to need to rework for. And if everything's ready and they can just rework stuff, then why not? But if they've got stuff coming down the pike later on, like the resource management You know, the idea that they've got relays and all that, if that's going to require yet another rework, it's like, well, how many times do you want to rework something? So I think that's a question we just can't answer, if I'm being honest, because we don't have access to that sort of information.
Sorry, someone in chat, it was Waffles, just said, imagine a Starfare, but instead of the fuel pods, it's prison pods. I could see it. Let me out. Anyway, all right. Yeah. Next question.
Okay, Nova asks, is it in a what? Nova asks, is it in a perpetual pitch up or down?
Well, context is a beautiful thing, so unless you can add context to that, Nova.
I would imagine it's probably because we are hours behind when he asked the question.
That was at 6:43 and it's now 8:35. So yeah, about 2 hours behind. The Herald. Is this in perpetual pitch up or down?
Down, is it? A larger engine at the top?
Yeah, pitching down constantly, essentially, yep.
Sorry, Nova. Jesus Christ, that was a long. We need to start rattling through these questions, don't we? Okay, so
they always start out slow and then they just kabloon and we end up being here longer than we should. But anyway.
Okie dokie. Monster AV, yes. So there was a question in chat about, are we getting a wipe after 0.2 patch? Yes, that's how the plan currently stands.
One for 18.1 and 18.2. They've actually said words to that effect.
Yep. Nova asks, what's the golden ticket thing? We were talking about the rarity.
People that signed up to the Robert Space Industries website before they even launched the Kickstarter. So they had no idea what it was, but they signed up anyway. Okay.
Yep. And there's not a lot of them at all.
Yep.
Monster AV asks, do you think we'll ever get a real carrier with a lower aircraft-based storage, something with designed around fighters and maybe PDCs? No big point defense. No big turrets to necessitate a fleet use. I hope so. I hope we get some. I hope, because at the minute, for me, that's what we're missing.
They do appear to be
start moving.
The bigger ships. Like, so the real ones for me are things like the Bengal and the Pegasus, but I think they are meant to be the ones they really want us to fight over. You know, so they're ones that'll be in game, but you can't purchase them. You know, as I've said, the Javelin's the biggest one we can purchase. And ironically, you go look at the Kraken, you know what that's listed as?
A light carrier, isn't it?
A light carrier. And it's one of the biggest ships we could buy. So,
yeah,
they're definitely going to have, you know, medium and heavy carriers down the line, but yeah, they're ones that we're going to have to fight over to get them.
Yeah, I think so. There's definitely room between the Kraken and the Bengal for an org style HQ ship that allows comings and goings with ships and has multifunction and is not necessarily combat based to make it appealable both to the people who want to put it at the center of a fleet of combat ships, so it's defended, but also, you know, for people who want to do industrial or commercial purposes, you know, so it's just as useful to a salvage fleet as it is to a combat fleet.
Yeah, I always come back to the Pegasus. That's the one that looks like the carrier to me. I don't know if I can bring up a picture, because I know this thing's gone in and out of game a few times, and what I mean by that is there's things that someone's come out and said, oh, it doesn't exist anymore. Oh, okay, it's back in the game now. But we'll see if I can bring it up real quick. I might find nothing here. Yeah, there it is. That's it. And this thing's got like a couple of different versions, obviously, but it has a massive hangar bay off one side, much like the Battlestar Galactica, if you've ever seen that show. So it used to be a really nice shot of it from above, Badges, if I can find it, that actually showed the hangar bay very nicely.
What I love about that is on the all page on Google, it says, is RSI's small carrier, and it's like only 80 meters shorter than the Bengal.
But yeah, just this and the Bengal is probably the big one. But I think, yeah, I don't know. Maybe this is the medium carrier and the Bengal's the heavy carrier. I don't know, but I know I've always liked the look of this ship more than the Bengal. Maybe because the Bengal was the original, one of the original ships, and it's just hasn't aged as well. Where this seems like a newer design to me, but yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway, something to look forward to again when we get the game years from now, but we'll see.
So Evacati25 asks, what if armor comes in and it's suddenly largely immune to size 2 and below guns? Does that make it better? That was whatever we were talking about at the time, wasn't it?
One of the, again, it's just speculation and theory, because they haven't really detailed out how armor's going to work. But I fully, like, years ago they talked about armor going on like little hexagons on areas, and I think it's designed in two parts. One is you put it over areas that are volatile, that you know something that could get damaged. But I also firmly believe, because it's tiles, as they've called it, they can be destroyed, right? So they've literally, to words to this effect, the Aurora cannot destroy capital armor. Doesn't say anything about destroying a capital ship. It says an Aurora cannot destroy capital armor. That doesn't mean you can't have an Ares Inferno come in, rip off all the armor, and then the Auroras come in. You get where I'm going here. So it's, again, it's player choice and ships for certain roles. So that Ares Inferno is the armor destroyer. You send it into harm's way, much like a boarding ship, to get rid of the armor, then everyone else can have a go, right? It's like lowering the shields. And again, just like how ballistics are temporary, but they're overpowered, or stronger, I should say, not overpowered, but ballistic ammo is stronger, armor is stronger, but it's also temporary. So then you get this weird balance between stronger but temporary, permanent but rechargeable, like lasers and shields are to each other. You get that with ballistics and armor, and that makes a lot of sense to me. On it, it fits into that design balance. You pick one that's strong, and the best ships, let's be honest, are going to be a ship that has shields and armor. Because if you've got to get through the shields just to get to the armor, and then you eventually get to the armor, and the shields come back up, you've got to get through again to damage it again. So it just increases that that strength. And let's be honest, capital ships having shields and armor, they're going to be a beast. Right.
I don't disagree.
You want to add to that, or do you?
A game that you can make tanks explode with a 9mm pistol is dumb.
Yep.
Right. So why would it be any different for Star Citizen? Why should I be able to blow up a Bengal with my P4 assault rifle?
Yep.
And it's not just because I can mount it to a ship that it's suddenly capable of doing amazing stuff.
Yep. Dark Sylvester or Silva, I can't pronounce that right, in Twitch chat makes a really good point. The Terrapin will be an interesting ship at the point when armor comes in game. Right now, that ship's just got a really high health pool, but how interesting will that ship become? Like, is that going to be a real pain in the ass to kill because of its armor? We don't know.
There's going to be a lot of videos of this thing just flying into other ships, like, boom, bitch, get out the way.
There's probably a video there, to be honest, like, what are the ships that are drastically going to change when armor comes in? Because at the moment, we've kind of got this flat thing, and it's going to just split. It's, there's going to be so much more separation between what ships are like. Like, for example, a Defender and a Saber have really good shields, but then you've got the Hornet. Let's be honest.
Go up in meta.
Look at the Hornet. The Hornet's been in a shit show for years, right? But as soon as that armor comes back in, is that going to become flavor of the month again? Like, could we actually see the Hornet come back to meta? That would be hilarious, We'll see.
Okay. So Miko asks, what size ship would you recommend for Pyro? Mate, if I was being honest with you, I would say whatever size you want to fly anyway, because the best way to work that, at least initially, is get a feeling for a larger star system, because that's what Pyro is, and how your ship and the ships that you want to fly operate in that system. Don't go chasing the meta with ships, especially not considering the cost attached.
And if you've only got one ship, don't go into the game saying you need stuff for right now. If you've only got, I'm just going to pick one at random, like a reclaimer, if that's all you've got, you know, you don't need a ship just for Pyro. You know, it's going to become more and more clear as more and more systems are added, the advantages of more ships and bigger ships. But that's a part of how they're setting it up. They want you to buy more and more ships, but you don't need to. You know, they want to fund the game, which is a necessary evil, so to speak, if you want to say it that way. But if you can't afford it, don't go down that rabbit hole. You know, all you need is a $45 starter. And if you want to go on other ships, as we said earlier when we were talking about playing games, find some friends and play with them. You know, like that's been the best thing about this game. The people I've met. That's it in a nutshell.
Cool. Okay, so so Robert Cooksmart asks, do you actually think the Santoki Eye is going to be a great fighter, or is this another medium fighter that will, with the conversation that we've had about maneuverability earlier in the day and what we've just said about armor and everything else?
Sorry, Badgers, you broke up there for a little bit. Can you repeat yourself?
Oh, okay. Yeah, so Robert Kusmar asks, do you actually think the Santoki Eye is going to be a great fighter, or is this another medium fighter that will fall short? Which I think we've kind of covered between the maneuverability and the armor conversations, is that, you know, you might have it's going to be different now to what it is later on.
So another way to look at this is another trope in game design. You get the tanky character, you get the healy character, you get the DPSy character, and then you get an agile character, right? And an agility can fall under speed. You can even look at this at World of Warcraft. I know you play World of Warcraft, so this is a really good example. And your rogue would be that speedy type of character, you know, or in some cases he can totally disappear as well, right? And you get this in other games too, like any first-person shooter, you'll get a character that dodges a lot, stuff like that. So if you're having rolling this back to the Santoki Eye, that's what that is. It is the maneuverability. It goes sideways and stuff like that. So it flies alien-like to change up the way you fight it. It won't be everyone's cup of tea, but those that master it, it could be quite an amazing ship to fly. But again, as the game is right now, those mechanics are not really in there. Like the Santoki Eye doesn't really fly how it'll fly when it's done. And sorry, someone was just trying to call me. And it's the same thing with the Cartwheel. Yeah. So when they're done, sorry, I'm just gonna message someone. Streaming at the moment, right? Yeah. So until they're kind of finished and we have those mechanics in place, you kind of can't tell how they're gonna work. Long story short, but you can only go based on what the movement they've talked about. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, agree entirely. You know, I think again, there's not enough information coming out about it other than the photos we've seen, and we've seen what you've seen, right? Maneuverability. We don't know what armor's going to do. You know, I think the challenge for CIG moving forward is going to make there more of a distinction between, okay, I'm fighting a light fighter versus I'm fighting a medium fighter versus I'm fighting a heavy fighter, and to make that more distinct, you know, and then have ships that, you know, are potentially hybrids and blur the lines in places, but you've got to have the lines in place first. And I don't feel like they've done that because they've got so many of them. If they have done that, then it's not immediately obvious to me, put it that way.
And I really think, and I've said this a few times before, things like a lot of the alien ships won't really be, I don't want to say recognized, but established. You kind of get where I'm going with this, until the expansion packs for them come out. Like that's when they'll really double down and like fill in what it means to be Cyan. You know, when you can actually play as a Cyan, like that's their plan at the moment. If this game goes big enough, you'll be able to play as a Cyan. They'll do a Cyan expansion. You'll start on a Cyan home world and play in that corner of a galaxy instead of playing in the human world. You know, it'd be the same thing with the Banu when they do that, and you'll flash them out as well. So you'll learn more about the. You know, someone asked me, do we expect? I think it was last week. Someone said, do we expect another ship from Gattack? No, I don't. Not until the expansion, anyway. What is there a need for a bigger alien cargo ship? That's the Banu Merchantman. You know, there really isn't, or even if you go smaller, you know, they could technically do it, but is there a need? No, because we're currently building out humans at the moment, you know, so that's where my brain keeps coming back to. They give you little tastes of it here. Say, oh, this is what the Cyan could be like, and oh, this is what the Banu Merchant, you know, the Banu could be like. But really, it'll go the other way too. There will probably be alien versions. We know it in lore, for example. Agra talks about this all the time. The Cyan have the right to make whole ships, but the Cyan are 4 foot tall. They're not 6 foot like us, so to speak, right? So does that mean they make physically smaller hull Cs? You know what I mean? Like they could get away with doing that, and so that might be something you see down the line. But anyway, anything to add to that, Beggars?
Yeah, no, I think I think you're bang on. I hope we see more ships from Gattack. I know that's not what you said. But yeah,
I'm not saying we won't. I just think it's unlikely to.
What
is the need?
I'm not disagreeing. You know, I think I haven't. Sorry, I'm just distracted by the absolute like YouTube chats. Just I don't know. Stop eating paint chips, you fucking psychopaths. It's like, why would a tourist stay and fight a ship? It's like honor. Can't sell honor, dude. I just keep going. Like, what are you going to do about it?
Yeah. All right. Next question.
Like, yeah, but tyrant chase off of what?
All right, I'm going to cut off the question.
Taurus is a cargo ship.
I'm going to cut off the questions now too, by the way, because I know we need to. So we're trying to do a shorter screen because badges. It'll be a late night if we do a 4-hour one.
Yeah.
So this will limit it.
Yeah.
I think if we can knock these ones out, we'll be done by 5:30.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But, you know, and having just complete disregard for what X has just said. Like, what? So you've got a cargo ship who decides to not stay and fight in a shock revelation for a cargo ship. I don't think anyone didn't see that coming.
So let me.
And the answer to that is people are mad at a C8X. Why would you be mad at a C8X?
Stop.
So, do not got cargo to run.
Stop reading chat because you're just going to keep reading chat for ages. The reason why I said there's no Morphic attack because they have schools or houses in Cyan, right? And they are the cargo manufacturer. I don't see there to be another need for a cargo ship from Gattack, but another school that's not a POA, because a POA is the attacky combat people. But say they did a mining ship, we could see a mining house from the Cyan or a mining school. Sorry, I can't remember if they're schools or houses, but you get where I'm going here, right? So I just don't see there's much of a need to see another Gattack ship. But anyway, I think we've beaten that dead horse. Do you want to go on the next question, or do you want to respond?
Yeah. Axis 0096 says, what do you think the smallest possible object will be in the game to have gravity? I think there's likely to be a couple of systems that have got broken up planets, and those planet bits are going to, you know, have their own gravity, and that's the whole point of it. It's hard to navigate. It starts to muck you around, pull you in different directions, interfere with
little things already, like Delima in Nyx that used to be in the game that they removed. That's technically a planetoid. Yeah, I could so see there being asteroid bases and stuff like that too. So it's really the sky's the limit, or what's the ground's the limit. I don't know if you want to go the other way because it's going small, but you know what I mean. It's what they want to put in the game. They could literally have, like, there's a city called, oh god, Spider, I think it's called. Someone will correct me if I'm wrong. Spider, and it's Levski, not no, wasn't it Delimar? Levski's the city, mate. Pete. The planetoid was called, I think it's Delimar. Very similar to Daymar, but it had a very slightly different spelling. Yeah, but Spider, getting back to Spider, Spider is an entire kind of planety thing that's built out of cargo containers and leftover ships and stuff like that. So it's not even a planet, it's just like a junkyard essentially, but they're all tied together. And again, if I Star Citizen, there's a really cool image about it. Spider. That's what I bet. Yes, it did. Here we go. So have a look at that badge. Just what do you think of that? Is that somewhere you would want to visit? Are you eating it? You're eating it again. Right. Yeah, I just find that really interesting.
No.
Yes, you are. Shut up. Right. Next question. Saralith asks, for the upcoming Alien Week and in general, do you guys think that we'll see more alien ships in other profession sizes? 100% to me is the Santoki that's coming. I don't think we even really need to question it now. We've had so many sneak peeks of it. It's right around the corner. It's 2 months away. They've got plenty of time. They're already, showing fully textured ship. That is definitely in final art. I think, no question it'll be Santoki. Going flight ready, I might 100%. Add. So they have one going flight ready. They very well may have another ship that goes up for sale. So they might do the flight ready one at the end and the new one at the beginning. So yeah, there could be another ship. Think about it truly. What that could be, who knows? It's a bit like that at the moment. It's hard to tell. I'm just trying to think if there's any other alien ships that are that we know about. Raelian's not on the map. No, I don't know. Someone let me know if there's another one on the roadmap that I've forgotten. The only one I can think of is a Raelian. I think the Raelian's the last one. Anyway, all right. What do you think about that? Chance of another alien ship at
I want to say yes, but the fact that Santoki is there makes it for me probably a no.
Yeah, but that's a release ship, but they could also have a concept ship.
Yeah, I don't disagree.
Or a straight to flight ready ship as well. Because remember, there are the EU feature teams working on 4, but there's actually 5 unannounced ships. So unannounced means they've never told us the title. So someone asked this earlier in chat. They said, so is the X1 an unannounced ship? No, we know it's called the X1, so it's not unannounced. That's literally 5 ships. We have no idea what's coming. And some of them are wrapping up around that time.
Mm-hmm.
So that's crazy. So you'll probably get one or two straight to flight ready ships, maybe one for Alien Week and maybe one as a concept. I don't know. But, yeah, that's interesting. Who knows?
It is.
All right, next question.
Okie dokie. Eva Cardi 25 asked, the last few sales CCU chains have seemed kind of weak. Do you think we might be seeing a bit better price drops this Fleet Week to tempt people back on board?
No, because they've learned what people are doing. So they've dropped them by roughly 25% to increase their profits.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, I probably do blame people like us doing the videos, but they'd also have data on what people are buying and stuff like that. And they're slow learners. It takes them usually 2 or 3 years to pick up on this stuff. And after they probably saw things like people getting $95 carracks, they went, maybe we shouldn't let that slide, And so they've pivoted to make a few changes and stuff like that. I don't know. Badges, do you want to speak that at all? I know it's not exactly a wheelhouse, but
yeah, I think that's probably the start of a trend, what we've seen in terms of the CCUs becoming bridging smaller gaps. I think that's likely the way they go. They might surprise us. I mean, they've done things to surprise us in other directions. Like we've been massively over the last couple of times we've guessed costs of ships.
And they have,
like you said, with the Legionnaire, we were $100 out on that bad boy.
They've also, one of the things I've noticed in the last 12 months is that where before they used to bunch everything up. I don't know if that's because they heard us talking about this and they've heard us say things and suggested things, because we have talked about these in the past. Like we used to complain how they bunched everything up. In the last 12 months, they've been unbunching. So right now you can look at, say, something like a Redeemer is 325 and a Caterpillar is 330. I would have expected them to be right bunched up, but like as we started talking about it, 6 months later, it all changed again. I don't know. As I said, I don't know if that's them learning or they're listening to us and other content creators, but I think it's cooler because in term of phrase, it just allows you to link more stuff together. And because they're learning how that linking works, even though they created, I find that funny, they $5 here, $5 there, they're essentially making more money, but we're making more links in the chain. So is it good? Is it bad? Yes, maybe you've got to spend a bit more money and you're not saving on generalistically speaking, you're saving 25% less. At least you're still saving 75%. That's still pretty high in my book. If you can get 75% off, that's quite a significant discount to me. Yeah.
Agreed.
Yeah. All right.
Okie dokie. Monster AB asks, if they do release the Hull C this year, do you think they'll have basic quanta started, or just the amount available of some cargo and a few static changes to pricing?
So the first part of that question is if they literally, when they last sold the Hull C, which was a couple of months back, said this is your last chance to buy it before it goes in-game at the discounted price. I brought at least 3 of those CCUs just based on that alone. And yeah, they don't tend to false advertise as much as possible. So I would say that it is more than likely coming this year, because the next time it would be officially available for sale would be AIE. So that tells me it's either got to come at AIE at the latest. So I think does that answer the first part of that question?
Yeah, I think so. As for the quanta and the cargo and a few static changes to pricing, I mean, yeah, they're going to need to have something in. Whether they just lift the cap temporarily, that's the like X talks about, simplest solution.
Yeah, they don't need to do the quanta, but I can definitely see them upping the. You go in and you buy X amount of cargo, right? If you can literally buy the whole C, they will give you the 32 SCU cargo containers. And this is the other cool thing about this system. If I buy a very small quantity of material, think about the mixing and matching how cool that whole C will look. It's covered in 32 SCU cargo containers, but then mixed in is like size 2 cargo containers. Because you've got multiple smaller things on it. Like that's when this ship's going to look, really cool and lived in, when they've got that real world chaos. You know what I mean? If anyone that's been to a storage warehouse of any description, actually being in the Navy, you would have seen shit like that on the ship. Yeah. You go down to the cargo bay and they're not all the same box, are they? For our viewers, I was just going to say you're shaking your head, but yeah, go ahead.
Even in scenarios where, so there's something called NSNs, NATO serial numbers, where obviously it benefits you to have everything as similar as possible. Even then, it's nowhere near. So, as much as there is a benefit to having things identical because it cuts down on, the bits you need to have, that no, not so much. Yeah. It's not. It's reality is it's far from that. Wouldn't it be nice if the world just worked like that and everything fit together? But yeah, I think you're right. I think the simplest way for them to do it is just lift the cap or remove it entirely on selling goods and just let people have at it, which would make sense if they coincided that with loading cargo and all that sort of stuff. Potentially, or having the AI do it at the same time. Now, that's not the same Not the same as having it as what is it I'm trying to say? Brain. But yeah,
what
so
brain? Anyway.
Thanks, mate. Cheers for that. But yeah, basically being able to load cargo, so to have cargo loading and unloading at the same time as this, because you'll have people you'll have a sudden surge of people, that's what I wanted to say, back towards cargo, which makes it impossible for them to predict what the limits need to be, because we haven't had a state of the game where people can load their own cargo and all that. So they'll probably give you the ability to load it through AI, load it yourself. There'll be a cost to the AI doing it. There'll be a time penalty to the AI doing it. But, at that point, that all makes sense. So I think that's more likely when everything's going to happen together. That just makes sense, right? But since when has common sense impacted on good game development?
Just want to give an update to something we were saying earlier. We're talking about the Santok AI coming at Invictus. I actually just checked the roadmap. It actually says September. So that's actually probably kicked back to CitizenCon as well. So yeah, there is more than likely a new ship coming at Invictus if they do one. Because last year they didn't do any ships at all for Alien Week. So it might be a new ship for Alien Week. Or nothing like last year. We'll see. All right, North End Trooper says, question, have you guys gone over the Squadron 42 monthly report? Dogs, cranes, bears, oh my. No, we have not. I don't think we've got time to do so now, unfortunately, because I'm trying to wrap this up earlier because Badgers has work tomorrow and it is getting very... Is it midnight there yet?
Almost. In fact, yes, we are 6 minutes past midnight.
Yeah, so he wants to get to bed. He really, as you can tell, he really needs his beauty sleep.
What I do, rude fucker. I will have a look and we'll have a chat about that next stream if you're on next Thursday.
Can do. All right.
Cool. Crystal King H says, could CIG make their own NLP prompt maker integrated with the Galactopedia and Quanta system so their own proprietary version of ChatGPT could write inexhaustible systemic dialogue in-game?
Then they would have to make their own ChatGPT. Is it worth it? A lot of work. I don't quite see the gameplay benefit. Yeah. If they could just grab ChatGPT and apt it in, go nuts. But if they've got to write it all themselves, no. So
it would be really interesting to have an AI voicer and ChatGPT just have it generate like radio background chatter. Did anyone watch the Antares commercial? And they're talking to each other, and then as they reach orbit and they start engaging, you've just got that radio chatter in the background. Like, that is full on immersion for me. Just hearing that back and forth that isn't involving you, and you're just kind of half monitoring it. That makes me very excited. So the long answer is maybe they license something, but that would be, you're talking so far down the line.
Do you want to try and rapid fire some of these questions? So
okay. So Mr. Buta 007.
Yep.
I haven't seen much information about Pyro. Could you guys tell me the difference between Pyro and Stanton, as well as what ships you'll be seeing the best for the new system? We've answered the ships bit. Pyro is bigger. Pyro is lawless. It has one large landing zone, which is Ruin Station.
Opposite of Stanton is the short answer.
Yeah, exactly that. Akala Bellany asks, with the advent of real PES with server meshing, will there be NPC cleanup of our trash and abandoned ships? Will be there fine or crime stat for littering?
I think they've got to have a mess that they can clean up first. And we're seeing the mess. So
yeah. So yes, definitely. Crime stat for littering, possibly on some planets. But one of the things they have said is that in areas where planets are less making money, things are going to get messy, so probably not.
Do you know how rude he is? He just called all those people that wear the plastic bags on their head trash. Anyway, that's disgusting.
I mean,
all right, next question.
If the shoe if the bag fits.
Yeah.
With 319, with weapon snapping, do you think there's a chance for the refinery ship? They'll be able to snap prospector bags in-game refineries with a vulture item printing generation.
Generally speaking, refining sounds like it's this lower end gameplay, but you got to realize that they've stated as well, even when the Expanse came out, that it's an active versus a passive. So they've also stated they want to have those gameplays in place before they bring out. They want ships feature complete before they release them, essentially, right? So that means they have to make all the active gameplay refinement, and that kicks it down the road quite a bit, in my book. What about you, Badges? Yes or no to that, or do you want
to? Yeah, no. I agree. It's certainly a prerequisite. Whether it means it's coming at the same time remains to be seen.
Yeah.
We did the land down under question.
Cool.
Dave Lobe asks.
One sec.
Sorry, go on.
Apparently the free fly is now live. So yeah, anyone that's on YouTube, apparently the free fly is live.
Okay.
Someone, if you're kind enough, go in the game and tell us what ships they gave us to, because that was one of the questions we got earlier. It'd be interesting to see. All right, Badger's next question.
Yeah. So, Citizen, we've done Dave Lobe's one. Citizen Scott asks, given the state of the game, will Invictus be ship show or shit show? Shit show.
It's always a shit show because there's way too many people, and you always see people in chat go, "God, can't wait till these freeloaders piss off." Every time there's someone that says something to that effect. The servers are overloaded. It's not whether the quality, the stability of the game, that obviously has a part of it, but it's generally because there's just too many people there because they can play it for free. So yeah.
So Monstravy asks, a bit more clarity. I was sorry, go on.
Sorry, Lemming just said Hoverquad, Razor, 100 Iron, Mustang are the free ships for the free fry. That's not a bad selection there. Razor's a good one to see. 100 I can leave it, and Mustang's not a bad one either because there's two there that can kind of lean towards the racing motif. But we'll see. Hoverquad, that's a terrible one they could add though. That thing has never worked properly since they put it in, but we'll see. Oh, apparently the Nomad. That's not bad. Okay, I'll take that. It's pretty good selection for new and old people. Like anyway.
Yeah. In a bit more clarity, so this was regards to the larger boarding ship that Monstravy was talking about before, but kind of wondering more along the line of pulling criminals or targets out of ships. Maybe a hostage rescue style ship. The Legion seems a bit all suited to that type of boarding. Does it?
While I think hostage rescue would be a thing, right?
For me, hostage rescue
a whole
would
ship
be...
around it seems a bit much, right? To me,
yeah. For me, hostage rescue is a Prowler.
Yep, and
it's special forces breaching charges going in all at the same time without any warning whatsoever.
And also, realistically, if you're taking a hostage, wouldn't you do it like in an underground bunker with multiple layers, and so you can see them coming, and then just the guy when they, like I don't know, that's just where my brain goes. But
yeah. Well, how's it go, essay? Coordination, speed, and the violence of action, or something like that, will carry the day. Yeah. Henrik asks, how much do you think it will cost to passively store your ships and hangars in the future, and will this become the new barrier to owning tons of capital ships?
That's a tough one.
I'd not thought about it.
Sorry, I gotta read that question. How much do you think it will cost for passive storing of your ships and hangars in the future, as this has become a new barrier to owning capital ships? Yes, there will be hangar fees, but also when I did interview Chris, it's much like in Freelancer, the size of the ship you have is in the scale with the money that you're earning. And so basically the money you're earning with said ship should be more than enough to cover its fees, insurance, and all that type of stuff, which is exactly how it was in Freelancer. And I would have to imagine it's much the same here. The fees traditionally in these games have been a lot lower on the low end. And it's not been like games like... what was the game that I'm trying to think of recently? Was it Elite and Dangerous or something like that had these capital ships come in, and the upkeep was insane. Like it just did not work with the scale for that. Like it was cheaper just to keep individual ships than work together with 20 people on the same ship. and again, I don't think they're going to create that sinkhole. It doesn't seem to be the way they're going. They want to encourage you to play together. If there's anything that becomes a detriment, they want to give you benefits. They want to give you what was the word you used the other day? Entice you. When we were talking about the comms episode, you said entice. That's the right word. They want to entice you with benefits to play together, right? So if it actually works out cheaper for 20 people to be on the same ship, that's why they're there, because they're trying to save money and work together, because it's generally more difficult to work together in a ship like that than it is to work individually. So why are you there? You're there because there's a benefit. The benefit has to outweigh the risks, just like real life. And that's why everyone does anything. Why would you break the grain and just make it needlessly huge sinkhole like Elite Dangerous did? Like, I think it was Elite Dangerous. I don't want to put words in their mouth, but I believe it was Elite Dangerous that did that, and they made these huge, massive sinkholes, and it just pissed everyone off. But yeah. Anyway, sorry, ran over. Unless you want to add to that.
Right. Vegas question. We covered that one. I spoke about it. That was a question about Pyro.
Yep.
Akala Bellany asks Polaris or BMM first.
Polaris, because BMM's had a pin put in it. Next question.
Yeah, agreed. If we get server meshing first, Polaris. If we get shops, BMM. Or sorry, if we get Squadron 42. MPCDN, whatever that is. What would be better carrier, the Liberator or the Crucible? Shut your mouth.
What will be a better carrier, Liberator or Crucible?
Neither.
I'm going to go with Crucible because it can repair things.
I mean, like, my biggest two retards trying to fuck a doorknob.
How big? Okay, right. Calm down. The problem with the Liberator is it's trying to do 2 carrying jobs at once. It's trying to do vehicles and ships. It needs to do one, not both. So the Liberator's this weird beast that just doesn't make sense. And I honestly think it potentially might get a bit of a rework, because if they realize that, it's going to sour it quite a bit. The Crucible, yes, you can technically carry things in it, but I wouldn't expect it to be much beyond, say, carrying 2 tonks at once. And there's no grav tech on there, so if you're flying recklessly, it could, fling it off a bit. So I don't know. Yeah, I don't think either of them are in the best spot right now for what you're looking at. Go to the Hercules, mate, if you want that type of stuff. I'll leave it there. All right, sorry, Badges. Next one.
That's right. No worries. Okay. So, can ship names be released as unannounced?
No. As I said before. So the X1, someone asked in chat, in Twitch chat, they said, could the X1 be unannounced? No, it can't, because we've literally got the announced name is the X1. So they are 5 ships that we have no idea what they are. Next question.
Okay. North End Trooper asks, will we see more resources or faster development to separate in the recreation layer from the dynamic game servers and be moving to dynamic server meshing?
No, not really, because they can only put on people that know how to do stuff, what they do. You don't hire the janitor and put him into game development. It's the same thing. If you're a network engineer, you work at network engineer. If they've got 5 network engineers, they can only work at the speed of 5 network engineers. Unless they've got more staff coming in. That's the only exception to what you've just asked. So yeah. I'm doing this rapid fire. Sorry if I come up like an asshole.
It depends on whether how complete PES is, how much more work it needs to do. Obviously, as PES becomes more and more complete, they can then shift some of those resources, because you can reasonably assume that they're going to be the same people, right? Yeah. From PES into dynamic server meshing. And the other thing is of course, is that dynamic server meshing and server meshing in general is one of those things that isn't affected really at all by Squadron 42, because Squadron 42 doesn't require it. So you're not having back-end networking people working on Squadron 42, because why would you? It's a single player. Okie dokie. Asa099 asks, will the Mustang Beta be more useful in Pyro because of the long distances?
Sorry, what was the question again? Sorry, I was typing to someone in chat. Oh, you're breaking up like a robot, real bad. Will Mustang Beta be more useful in Pyro because of the long distance? Than other Mustangs, yes. But other ships, not so much, no. Yeah. But as we said earlier, Pyro is going to be a really interesting time because it's going to change the perspective of how a lot of people look at ships. Anyway, sorry, Badge, as you were saying, have you come back or are you still a robot? You're muted. You are muted, sir. I cannot hear you. You're not muted. Oh. Drop out of the Discord channel and drop back in. See if it fixes it for you. All right. I'll come back to that question and I'm gonna try again, Badges.
Hello.
Yeah, there you go. Now answer the question.
Ah, yes. Okay, cool. Yeah, so sorry, that's why
Yep.
I cut out halfway through that question. I didn't mean to. I do apologize.
No, we don't have the best connection at the moment. Discord's gone in the orange. I don't know why. But I have.
Yeah, Discord isn't looking great.
No.
Okay, so, and I don't know if that was something my end because I've now lost the questions.
No,
but,
it's definitely a Discord end. So the question was, do you think Pyro will be an option for a player starter system where it first comes out? Oh, wait. What the hell? I've lost it as well. What was it? Do you think Pyro will be an option for a player starter system when it first comes out, or will everyone in Start and Stanton and have to jump to Pyro? Is that the right question? Is that the one you got?
Yeah, that was the one I was literally about to change to. I was reading when I
That's the one before that then?
So yeah. The
Mustang Beta?
one before that was
Mustang Beta.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, basically not initially. There'll be a chain of stations that will provide the fuel, but certainly as the game develops and they take the training wheels off and let us all deal with the fact that we can quite happily run out of fuel, then yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Okay. Let's have a look at the next one.
Do you think Pyro will be an option for a player? So it's by M Walker 300. It says, do you think Pyro will be an option for a player star system when it first comes out, or will everyone start in Stanton and have to jump to Pyro? So I think starting systems will be safe spaces like Stanton. They won't be unlawful systems like Pyro. So they'll start players out in safe locations, and then again, if you look at Freelancer as the groundwork for this game, because that is what they're doing. You started out as a lawful player, and then you moved into unlawful systems. As you got better and better at the game, and I expect this to be no different.
Yeah, and I think also, you know, the murder hobo thing. There's going to be a time for the murder hobo thing, but I think later on with crime stat and bounties and people being able to remember who you are, and you know, you having some sort of kind of trust pilot system that. A lot of the good criminals are going to be the ones like you see in the film Heat with Robert De Niro and Al Pacino, is they do what they want to do, but they do it with minimal impact. Because, you know, they were robbing banks, but they don't want to kill people. Why? Because the bank's insured. And if you don't kill people, people get a lot more upset about people getting murdered than they do about some bank whose losses are insured.
Yep.
So if you can rob a bank and not kill anybody, you're laughing. Because after the initial couple of weeks, all of a sudden, you know, everyone's banging on at law enforcement will catch the murderers, you know, catch all that sort of stuff. You know, so there's that sort of stuff. One of the other things I think is likely to happen is from that law kind of legal system is we're going to get the ability to name change, and we're going to get the ability to have two names, so a first name and a last name with a space. Because in a game where they're trying to make everything blur in, so you're not sure whether you're fighting Quanta or whether you're fighting players. If I come up against, you know, Nathan McAndrews, and I come up against, you know, MILF Hunter 69, I think I can identify really quickly which one is the AI and which one is the Quanta. So it would make sense with the ability to name our ships and do everything else to blend into the background that we can actually go and change our names to something a little bit more kind of in fitting with the universe. But yeah, so that was that.
Citizen Panda, how do we get invited to the podcast? Would love to sit with you, visit and chat. So do you know how often I get asked that? I get random people going, I want to come on your show. I want to come on your show and talk. And I'm like, yeah, you and everyone, mate. You get invited is how you get on. And generally you've got to pique my interest or algorithms or badges. And we'll talk amongst ourselves and bring you on. Right.
On the flip side, we are not PewDiePie or any of the big streamers. We will often be found sat in an Inforunners voice channel, and you can just come and chat with us. If we're in there, if we're in private, we're in a locked channel, and you can't see it. If we're in general, if we're in playing Star Citizen, the whole reason we're in there is to interact with you guys. So if you see us in there and you think, oh, I'd like to talk to, please, by all means. We're not scary. We don't shout. Well, I mean, X is scary a little, but we don't shout and all that sort of stuff. Just come in, have a chat. There's something on your mind. Just obviously be respectful of the conversation that's coming in. Don't come in and immediately derail stuff.
I'm only scary when I'm tired. That's when I'm scary.
Which is all of the time.
Yeah, okay. I will say, just as a caveat too, if you do want to catch us, the times that we generally hang out in general are around Invictus and AIE. So every day AIE is on an Invictus. As that sale goes live, we'll be there. And I really do go out of my way to hang out there to help people. So yeah, but
how do I ban someone from Twitch chat again, X?
Who are you trying
Waffle
to ban?
needs to go.
Oh, does he? He's insane though, so you got to forgive him. But I was going to say, if you really do want to make a time to chat, just add us on the Discord. So at execute or badges or Algrid and if we don't just talk to you in text chat, we'll say, hey, come jump into voice and we'll have a talk. We're pretty approachable. We kind of pride ourselves on being that way. So,
or there's a whole thing called the professionals, which you can come and talk to us and all. Because we like as many game loops as there are. We try and find people who, from the real world, have experience, who are able then to talk a little bit with you about how it works in the real world, so you can start drawing connections. And who was it we were talking to about mining and refining?
Tecton.
But that just, for me, Tecton just...
It's got a good name for me. He's a geologist with the name Tecton. I think it's perfect.
Yeah. Absolutely. Or you could be someone like Essay, so Army, so every so often we get him in here just because his missus gets tired of him licking the windows. So yeah.
Ironically, I could see him doing that, just
you ever want to see absolute carnage on a bus full of army guys? Tell them the windows taste like strawberries. Okay. Love USA. Okay, just remember, the only thing that unites the Army and the Navy is our combined hatred of the Air Force. ExoWolf07 asks, when do you think we'll see the new star map rework? And what features would you like to see? Do you know what? I'll just settle for fucking functioning map, mate, if I'm being honest.
Yeah, that star map is... I've said that a couple of times now. All I want is that star map fixed for the entire year and I'll be happy.
Yeah, and Foxtrot, I think that is Foxtrot. Mate, thank you ever so much for the super chat. It's appreciated. Thank you very much for that.
You want to read what he said?
Yeah, he says, just put up here to support the stream. Thank you for the content. You're very welcome. It's never required, but always appreciated when people donate. So thank you.
Thank you.
It turns out that this will now be funding the cat cam, so
Probably.
we can have so X can get his pussy out on stream. Okay.
So you have a go at me and then call me that, but when you do it, it's totally fine. Yeah. See. Both ways. Tit for tat, motherfucker. Tit for tat.
Asa099 asks, can you raid the big ships and hostile takeover, do you think, in the future? Yes, mate. Definitely with ships like the Bengal and the Pegasus. The ones that we can't own will discover in game. I think potentially that's an entire dynamic event to find one, and then every so often there's a, the ship's location gets pinged and the org that has it has to defend it or whatever. But they'll certainly turn it out to things like that. And they've talked about being able to board takeover ships, sell them.
I remember back in the day, Goon Squad talking about they want to get a Bengal, and just for laughs, they want to like to see how people get salty, and they just want to fly it into the sun, because then you can't get it back. And my brain instantly went to, well, CIG will just despawn that one and respawn another one. But still be funny just to see people get, why would you do that? Why would you make that Bengal? Like, because I can see that people would get really upset. You've just wasted an entire Bengal on a joke. This is disgusting. I don't know. That somehow appeals to me just to see people get salty like that. But yeah, we'll see.
Yeah, absolutely. Doc Silvea asks, what do you think about org-run asteroid facilities as bases, since they're currently working on asteroid facilities to the end of June? Maybe not as an immediate priority, but certainly at some point in the future.
They have talked about player-run facilities in the past, so yeah, absolutely. Whether it's an asteroid or on a planet, who knows? It's where they choose to put it. It'll be gameplay first.
Star Wars Galaxies used to have deployable things that you could put down. They would gather minerals for you, so it'd be like a ground mineral extractor, and you come back to it in a certain amount of time and empty it and take what you needed from it.
You're already seeing those around. You're already seeing those around Outpost already. The little farming pods, the little pumpy breast pump things that pump the ground, all that type of stuff is all going to be stuff that we end up having that collects stuff for our home base.
The what pump things?
Little breast pump thing. Whatever. You know what I mean? Don't get aroused on me.
Vegas, what do you two think about the Drake flyable pack? I think it's flyable in its Drake.
Drake flyable pack. Is that a new one? Oh, look. Hold on. Due diligence.
Okay. What? Okay, the next one's a CCU as well, so I'll leave that one for you too.
Yep, go to the next one then.
It's CCU, so you do that bit. And then Asa099 asks, as the last question we have, sorry, we have closed the questions just because I need to go to bed. Do you think you can choose to be another race than humans? Like Ra, you can choose Horde Alliance, but you've got choose Human, Vandal, Banal, Xian. I don't think we're going to be able to choose Vandal. They are an NPC race.
I'm going to be honest, I think eventually we will. If the game goes far enough, because I'll put it this way, and I don't want to give too much away, but the enemy of my enemy is my friend. Not saying that's confirmed, but I have a high suspicion, and Algrid would agree with me. If Algrid's in chat, he'll tell you the words to that effect. I need to go look at the packages. Or can someone Lemming, if you're around, can you link me that Drake package he's talking about? Because I can't see it, and I just don't have the time to. What was it called? The fly pack? Drake what?
Drake flyable pack.
As in every Drake ship?
I pass. Ask me one on spot.
All right, I'll have to get in contact with me after stream, and I'll have a look at privately. What was the other CCU one that you wanted to look at?
Question: is the current Warbond CCU for the Vulture $5 for a $25 saving the best value, low price CCU we've seen in a while from Razor to Vulture?
I'm trying to remember how much the ones I brought. I brought a Vulture to Freelancer just before, but you can't get that anymore, obviously. How much is the Razor at the moment? Do you have that off the top of your head? Lemming's up on his CCUs. I would say,
pass.
Lemming, unmute yourself. What's the best CCU at the moment for the Vulture?
Razor.
It is the Razor. There you go. Yep. Answer question. Answered. Sound Gripper. There you go. Thank you, Lemming.
So is it the best value low range CCU we've seen in a while? Is the question.
I haven't had a chance to look at it, obviously, because it's just
I can actually talk about that.
Go for it.
Sure.
So the Razor CCU is actually phenomenal. Considering it had a warp on last Invictus, that brought it down to 130. A 130 to 175 price jump is a
Beautiful.
Yeah.
I think it's a 40%, 38%, something like that price jump. That's massive.
That is. And that's our metric, isn't it? When we look at savings, we're looking at those percentages. That's what we're
right, exactly.
At. Yeah.
But I mean, if you missed that Invictus one, I wanted to chime in on the person that commented earlier about CCU values going down. I mean, that CCU is phenomenal. That's one of the best ones that we've had in a very long time. So
there is always exceptions
yeah.
to the rule, but generally over the last I'd say year and a half, we've had a drop by about 25%. But there are exceptions to the rule.
Yep,
100%.
agreed.
Yeah, and that's one of them. And I'm gonna be honest. I think most of the biggest savings I've been seeing, you can tell me if it's different to you, Lemming, is on the stuff that's going into the game, like the newer stuff, like the Vulture, like the whole C, things like that. That's where I'm buying my CCUs because that releases the bigger jump in savings. So yeah. All right. Is there anything else you want to add there, Lemming, or we're going to start to wrap up? I think I need to find someone to raid. All right. Thank you for the information, Lemming. Right, Badgers, you want to do the usual spiel? You don't normally do it. I'm going to hit the subscribe thing. You do that while I find.
Yeah. So if you obviously we do this not for money. No one draws a salary out of this. But if you do want to support the Scream
the Scream
and the Scream. The stream, the content that it does help us. The donations that I've done previously have helped me with lighting, with green screen background and all that sort of stuff. So you can do so. Head over to Patreon. If you subscribe at the right tier, you can also come into supporters and into live, so you can watch us record episodes. You can hear the discussion that goes on before and afterwards, and it's a real peek behind the curtains. Look, it's really cool. And I don't know other content creators that do that. So you're more than welcome to come and join us if you so desire. But, feel free to smash the like button, abuse the subscribe button if you're not already. And, like we say, it's never expected, but it is always appreciated.
I'm trying to find someone to raid.
Similarly on that note, just whilst X is having a look around on the raiding, I was mucking around with Chat GPT the other day and started asking it questions about Star Citizen.
Yep.
And that video is doing remarkably well, it turns out. Do you want to? So I'm going to drop a quick link to it.
Please. He linked it to me, and I watched it just after it went live. It's actually kind of interesting to. It's kind of disturbing how much it knew.
So I'm going to do that a couple of times. I'm going to ask it more questions later on. Now that I've kind of got into the habit of figuring out what questions I can and can't ask it, and how to get a better kind of reaction out of it. But yeah, I shall pop that in the channels. Feel free to go and have a look if you haven't already.
All right, so we're going to raid Cobra TV. I haven't had a chance to raid Cobra, but he is live. I've hung out with him a few times before, so yeah, make sure you smash his follow button and give him a bit of banter from us. And oh my god, my damn lungs! Right, I just
he's going.
I'm going. So I need to get off here if I can get a drink or something. All right, with that then, goodbye Twitch. Have a good week. We'll have a show for you on the weekend as well. Bye.
All the best, guys. Take it easy.
All right.
Love you.
That is Twitch heading off chat switched over. Cool. As I said for YouTube, we'll have a video out again for you this week. Thank you for joining us. And we'll be with you again this week. I'm sure Algrid is not going to let me forget to do the tuna stuff. I keep forgetting. Really bad of me. I've just got to figure out some way to do it. I'm probably gonna end up here with like a whiteboard or some shit and go, hey, well, no. I don't know how else to do it because I don't. As I said, like I was originally gonna do it on a table, but then I got the cat cam out and I was gonna use that and it didn't work. So I was like, Shit. What do I do?
Cat wouldn't remain in place for long enough.
No. Like the cat cam. So the little thing where it joins to like the arm, literally busted off. So the camera works totally fine, but I can't get into position anymore. So
Gotcha.
I need to buy another one because the mount hole just essentially busted off. So yeah. All right. With that, then he's been Badges. I've been Execute, and we'll catch you in the next one. Have a good week, everyone. Bye.
Cheers, guys.